Welcome back to another edition of the Rodcast. We are jam-packed today. Lots of NBA to discuss. Thrilling games in the NBA last night. Looking forward to big games tonight in the NBA playoffs. We'll get to that. We'll start off, as a matter of fact, talking NBA. Wemby I don't think there was any surprise there, wins Rookie of the Year, a unanimous Rookie of the Year award for Victor Wembanyama. We'll get into that. We got some sound. We'll hear from Wemby a little bit later on in the show. Also, we'll get into some Texas football conversation as we do every show. We'll go behind the burnt orange curtain next segment. Give some love to a couple of Longhorn leaders in the community, some lifetime Longhorns that I call good friends of mine that I'm proud of. Those guys are doing good work. We'll give a shout out to them, but also dive into the transfer portal. Give it, then it take it away. We'll also look at some of the destinations for some of the transfer portal departures for the Longhorns. We'll also get into some Cowboys discussion. What is the actual date? What time, right? When on the timeline should Cowboys fans start freaking out about this Dak Prescott thing? And there's actually an insider that believes that if the Cowboys don't extend Dak around this time or by this time, that it may signal worst case scenario or the doomsday Dak situation for the Dallas Cowboys. So we'll get into that when we talk Cowboys coming up a little bit later on in the show. There's also a great story. It sounds fake. It's one of those quickly tailor-made stories for sports talk radio. There is a new bowl sponsor for the Arizona Bowl, and this is magnifico. Yeah, you see, even Patrick knows this story is so good. I mean, we probably just need to devote like a whole segment to it. It's just so good. It's got nice jokes and one-liners, just tailored, it's written up for you. It's almost too easy. Softballs. So we'll get into that coming up a little bit later on the show because it's too good. And honestly, I am now hoping for there's a certain scenario that could take this new bowl sponsorship to a whole nother level. And I don't know if it could happen, but we'll talk about that coming up a little bit later on the show. All your usual favorites, of course, though. We have the Big Fat Poll of the Day. Even I don't know what the Big Fat Poll of the Day is, guys. I'm surprised by it every day, just like you. And I like it that way. Musically themed day of the week. We'll hit that up around 6:45. We also got What the Facts, What the Stats. We got Off the Record. That's probably when we'll hit that bowl sponsorship story because it is truly off the record. Then we'll get into Who Said That. So we got a lot to get into on the show. Raj rant as well. But let's start out talking about the NBA, and that's where we'll start. But first, without further ado, let's introduce you to the rest of the crew. He is the real MVP. I call him the Idealionaire. He's one of the hardest working members of the ARN family. Got a hustler spirit, period. I'm not sure what he's paid. I'm just sure that he's underpaid. Ain't no 401k for a hustler, especially this hustler, and he's a hustle man of many talents. My friend, co-host, and neighbor is Patrick Davis, y'all. What's going on, Patrick?
I'm doing good. Rod, have you ever have dreams that are so vivid that when you wake up, you're like, I still feel like I'm half in it?
Oh, yeah. Mm-hmm.
So I had one of those last night, and it finished with like a scary dude coming after me.
Ooh, stressful.
And then, like I'm coming to work. It's dark out. So I'm like getting ready. And I'm like, I don't want to walk to my car now. I feel bad. And it's in a dream. And yet I'm still like, I don't want to.
Still
like, I'm like, that dude was pretty scary. And I did not enjoy that. Doubt. In my dream,
that's not a good sleep either because you're basically stressed out the whole time you're sleeping.
Yeah, it's an immediate wake up and your heart's pounding. You're like, well, come on, man, I don't want to do that at all.
Did you see this stranger's face in your dream?
Not really.
It's
no,
it's a dark figure. Yes, okay. Yes. I'm sure somebody can psychoanalyze that. Man, tell you what that means. It definitely means something.
Let's put it this way: there was a whole lot of other craziness in that dream. It was all it was a very weird dream. Like 20 celebrities in it. It was a very weird dream.
Oh man, 20 celebrities. Give me one of the random 20 that was in there. The random celebrity.
Bobby the Brain Heenan.
Wow.
That should tell you how crazy
that is as random as it. Honestly, dude, you could have given me 100 guesses.
No, never.
About what celebrity you're dreaming. I never would have guessed.
I'll give you a second one to show you how crazy it is. Tim Allen was in there.
Also, wouldn't have been in my top 100 guesses of celebrities.
No, not someone I've thought about in the last 6 months, and yet still
that is
popped
up.
That
is obscure and random. I don't even know. Yeah, that is a weird dream, man. You got a weird dream working there. Okay, how about this? Were they the A, B, or C list celebrities in your dream? Now I'm way too into this thing. I'm sorry. I apologize.
I feel like they were all around the same. Like they were all.
Oh, so they're all random.
They're just all random.
Okay, obscure. Okay.
Yeah. Just
I got you.
random.
All right. So it's basically kind of from your world. Did you watch a lot of? I don't know. Did you watch Home Improvement? I
Yeah,
know
when
you're
I
a
was
wrestling fan.
like 20 years ago.
And there you go. It's coming back, man. Your subconscious. It's working, brother. I'm telling you, that dream means something. I can't tell you what it
I
means.
have no idea what it
something.
means. I have no
Yeah.
idea what it means. I can tell you that my co-host is a proud alumni of DBU. He's got more papers in Dunder Mifflin and watches more film than Siskel and Ebert. He is a new Rod father of Austin Sports Radio, Mr. Rod Babers.
That's why I love Patrick. The idea, thank you for the intro as always, because I never know what's coming, and it's always fun. It's always fun. It's like I say, I'm surprised by it. Like you guys, I don't know what the big fat poll today is right now. Me and Patrick did not discuss that. All right, I know Patrick don't take care of it. Boom, he gets it done, and then we always have a great conversation about it. I do know what the musically themed day of the week is, and it's my favorite. So we'll get into that coming up a little bit later on. About man Patrick wears a lot of hats. He'll also give you your horn headlines here momentarily. But we'll be getting Patrick's expertise because nobody watches more NBA than my man Patrick Davis about the games last night. So we'll spend a lot of time today reviewing and previewing NBA players because they're getting really, really interesting. I mean, that T-Wolves squad is scary. That is what they did to the defending champion Nuggets on the road last night. That was inappropriate.
Without Rudy Gobert?
Without Rudy Gobert. Woo! That's worth a Rick Flair. Woo! Like it was. Yeah. Did you see the TNT? It did feel like that. They played the NWO Wolfpack theme going to one of the breaks. That's the TNT did. I swear they did. That's how I'm telling you, man. That's how it felt in that building, man. It did. Even watching, you kept thinking, are they gonna come back? Are they gonna make this thing interesting?
There's a great shot of Anthony Edwards like flexing and screaming. And then just a wall of disappointed Nuggets fans in front of him. Just not mad, shocked, not screaming, just sitting down, frowning. Like, what is happening?
What I agree. I didn't see that coming. We knew this T-Wolves team, was hungry because we talked about that. That is ravenous. They are, man, a bunch of hungry dogs. Oh man, that was actually. And by the way, Anthony Edwards didn't go off. I mean, Karl-Anthony Towns didn't go off. They both had 27, but it was the defense.
Yeah. They held a team in 2024 with possibly another MVP winner, but a team that's been scoring very well to 80 points.
Yeah. That's you're talking about without the best, arguably the best defensive player in the league.
Someone who may win Defensive Player of the Year tonight. He could win it tonight. And he was not even there.
Yeah. And he wasn't. He's actually, for those who he's waiting the birth of his child, so he was not there. Personal reasons, he wasn't hurt or anything. But yeah, add him to the mix. And what happens to this Denver squad? I mean, that was an Old Testament style, old biblical style butt whipping. Denver trailed by 32 at one point, a 32-point deficit. It was their largest home deficit since 2018 for Denver, and it was the largest home deficit in a playoff game ever for the Denver Nuggets.
And now, we
crazy.
Can look at something in this. That the second half of this, and partly it was, I think Timberwolves were just a little bit more pulled back in the second half, and we're not going full on ravenous wolf,
full throttle. Yeah,
but they did. I mean, they tied in the second half, so it was not a, it wasn't a full 4-quarter butt whooping where they just dominated him the entire time. But they weren't. It's not like the Nuggets came back at all in the second half. It was a tie in the second half. So if you're Denver, you can grab a little bit of, man, that is the most flustered we have ever been. That is the most off our game we have ever been in the last 2 years. This is the worst we have played. This is the most off we've ever been put by a team. And in the second half, we did okay. So we need to figure out how to get further in the second half. The turnovers went down immensely in the second half. The first half turnovers, I think all of Jokic's 4 turnovers in the first half. And so there was a lot of it where they were just going nuts. Jamal Murray probably should have been ejected by the end of this game. He was extremely frustrated. There was a scene where they said he should have got a tech because he threw his heating pad on the court.
Yeah, they haven't. The NBA hadn't addressed it yet, and the officials didn't address it during the game because they said they didn't see it. Nobody
Yes.
saw where the heating pad came from. They said it could have came from the crowd, but then they basically, I mean, the T Wolves coaches were saying, "Listen, ain't nobody coming to the damn arena with a heating pad. All right, that came from their bench somehow. You guys, so they're gonna review it, and yeah, he'll probably be fine." And he also gestured a money sign to the refs, and that's on video too, and that's a little that's, you don't want to be doing that these days,
No,
right, with
and I
sports
mean
betting and stuff.
he's gonna
So
have to go and calm down a little bit to realize I get you get really frustrated, but there were some of those plays where it's a type of defense as an offensive player you hate because if the refs are allowing there to be some body contact and it's just a small amount of body contact and you have guys that are long like that, it feels like you're being ravaged, but it's really you bumping into two guys and not them bumping into you because you're trying to get free and they're just kind of standing still. And so it can get extremely frustrating. But yeah, him believing that he should get bailed out of every call was getting a little frustrating watching it at a point where you're like, they're not going to bail you out. Like, you just get over it. This is not how they're going to call the game this way. You have to get away. You have to start playing better. And like, I get they blew the call on Karl Anthony Towns. We lowered his shoulder and went straight through him. That should have been a charge. They blew that one. That was about the only one they really, really blew of this was a bad, like, you missed a call. The rest of it was they're just letting you play. It's the playoffs. And you're just not used to teams being able to do that and you guys not making them pay on the other side because their rotations have been great. They have so much length and so much size length, and like, man. All of those
Gobert, you saw the length out there.
Yeah.
For the backups, Nas Reed and
they're just
Alexander Walker.
They understand that this is a Nuggets team based around two guys and they're swarming the two guys and making Michael Porter Jr. and Condavious Caldwell Pope and Christian Braun and all. They're trying to make them beat them. And they know we have more guys on our. So if you want to swarm Karl Anthony Towns, that's fine. We have Anthony Edwards. And if you want to swarm Anthony Edwards, we can get the ball back to, we'll get the ball to one of our other guys. And we have Mike Conley and Aaron Gordon hasn't really showed up in these games for the Nuggets. So if you say they're trying to make the secondary stars for the Nuggets have to make plays and they're making Murray and Jokic have to work hard. And so Jokic had a statement after game one where he said, "We need another one of me." And everybody and everyone took that as, well, he's saying his teammates can't help him. And then he had to clarify after the game. He said, "No, I want another me that's fresh to check in because I can't play. Like, this is just, they're really wearing us out."
Yeah, exactly. Because like you said, they have so much length, even without Gobert. Kyle Anderson steps in and they can throw him at him. It really is. This is a really deep team. And we'll get to the Horn headlines here because I know we kind of started out with this matchup, but they've been the number one defense basically all season long. Their defense is elite. They had 11 steals and 12 blocks in this game. 11 steals and 12 blocks. And like I said, this is without Rudy Gobert, without the best defensive player in the league, arguably. They had 11 steals and 12 blocks, and they held Denver to 30, basically right under 35% shooting from the field, 30% from three-point range. It was thorough, and like you said, it all happened in the first half. Like you said, that most of all of that damage was in the first half. In the second half, Denver at least was able to calm things down, but they unraveled a little bit. You saw, we haven't seen Denver face adversity like this since they became a champion.
No,
so this is it. This is the first real test of adversity we've seen them face. They haven't been down in a series, really, have they?
No, and definitely not 0-2 at home.
No, yeah, exactly.
But
they haven't even been down though.
But this is, I mean, really, you saw it was the play where Karl Anthony Towns muscled through Murray under the basket. It looked like it should have been a charge. It wasn't called, and from that point on, basically Jamal Murray and Mike Malone, the coach, were full on, well, the game's rigged, we're going to lose. And not, okay, time to persevere, let's play harder, let's get back into it. And they reset a little bit at halftime, but then, but especially the rest of the first half, they were so out of sorts and they were just playing the victim. And you can't do that in a game because the minute you start being a victim, then you get victimized by the other team more and more and more. So you have to play the aggressor at all times. They weren't able to do that. And it showed throughout that first half. It was hard to watch at points because they were just so out of sorts for such a good team.
Yeah, they unraveled. We have never seen Denver like that. But like I said, we've never seen Denver face this much adversity against a team like the T Wolves, built like the T Wolves, and they beat them in every. And it was just one game, but now they're down 2-0 in this series, and they got to go back now to Minnesota. For 2 games and try to win 2 on the road, still 2 on the road to even this series. But the T Wolves beat them with points in the paint, 52-34, bench points 37-23, points off turnovers 19-2, second chance points 14-8. I mean, you no matter what aspect of the game you're looking at, the T Wolves just kind of ran roughshod over the Nuggets and defending champions. So we just hadn't seen that. Matter of fact, here's a little stat before we get to the Horn headlines here. The last time a defending champion lost 2 games, I believe 2 games at home in the playoffs, and was down 2-0 in the series. You got to go back to 2011, the Mavs sweeping the Lakers. I believe that's the last time, right? That's the last time. Because the Mavs kind of came out of nowhere with that team. That was nobody really expected that. And then they end up sweeping the Lakers on their miracle run to a title. You just don't see champions lose twice at home like that. So
no, and
right.
I say a text that says with the Nuggets down 2-0, the Celtics almost a certainty. I don't know how you look at the Timberwolves, who are 6-0 in the playoffs, and say that you think that they'll get blown past by the Celtics. I don't see how you would look at it that way. The Timberwolves look really, really good right now. They are playing really good basketball, and if Anthony Edwards continues to play like he does, they are right now the team. And yes, this is because 2 games against Nuggets, but they look like the team that they're the team to beat right now in the NBA. Because if you say, well, they have a now guard who seems to be playing prolific basketball and getting comparisons to all-time greats, and then you throw in the best defense, probably in the NBA in the last, at least last 5-6 years, if not longer, then there's no reason to believe that this team cannot, go compete for a title right now.
Yeah, and if they continue to dismantle the Nuggets like that, I'm with you. I think they got a shot. There's no way you could say that they don't have a shot against Boston. They can do that to Denver, what they're doing.
Yeah.
They can do it to anybody in the league. So we'll come back to that conversation because it's got so many layers to it. But first, let's get updated. Let's get educated. Let's get informed with the big headlines of the day with my man Patrick Davis and the Horn headlines.
Your Horn headlines brought to you by Top Gun Rentals and Lawn Equipment. In the NBA, the Knicks were able to close out the Pacers 121-117 to take a 1-0 lead in the series behind the 4th straight 40-point game from Jalen Brunson, who becomes just the 4th player in NBA history to have 4 straight 40-point games in the playoffs. Meanwhile, the Nuggets are reeling after a 106-80 loss to the Timberwolves, falling down 2-0 in a series where defense led the way for Minnesota. Denver will now have to wait till Friday to try to get back on the right track, trying to become only the 6th team to ever lose their first 2 games at home and come back to win a 7-game series. Tonight, the other 2 second-round matchups will begin with the Celtics taking on the Cavaliers and the Thunder facing the Mavericks. In other NBA news, Victor Wembanyama was named the Rookie of the Year in a unanimous vote. Wemby becomes only the 6th player in league history to win the award by unanimous vote, and will now wait to see if he won Defensive Player of the Year. That is set to be announced tonight. In Major League Baseball, the Astros will begin their series with the Yankees tonight, hoping to avenge being swept by the New York earlier this season. Justin Verlander will get the call for the Astros, who have struggled all season. And the Rangers take care of the A's in their first game of the series, 4-2, after a 3-run home run from Corey Seager in the 8th inning. The Rangers have Jose Urena scheduled to make his first start of the season in what looks to be a bullpen game. You can catch pregame beginning at 2 p.m. right here on the Horn. That is your Horn headlines.
For the Horn headlines, we were talking yesterday about these playoff games, and you said it's all about superstars and your superstars stepping up. And I said, totally agree. And I said, I'll add to it clutch time.
Yeah.
Even if it is not your superstar, somebody's got to step up, make a big play in clutch time. That this Indiana Knicks game 1, it really did come down to that. And you said it yesterday. You said, man, Tyrese Halliburton's got to step up, and he's got to match that energy of Jalen Brunson, because right now Jalen Brunson is playing with a lot of just elite kind of superstar energy right now. Like he believes that he's that guy and he's playing like that dude. And once again, he proved that he's that dude. Scored 43 points. You talked about it, 4th player in NBA history with 4 straight 40-point games. The other players he joins are Jerry West, Michael Jordan, and Bernard King.
Yeah, pretty good company there.
He's really good
And
coverage
also,
for
for the
Jalen
record,
Brunson.
as much as scoring is up in the NBA, he's the last player to do it was Michael Jordan.
Yeah,
It's
good
not
point.
like it's one of these stats now that, okay, well, we saw guys keep putting up 70 earlier this season. And he said, okay, the scoring's getting a little too crazy in the NBA right now. It has not been done since Jordan. So that it should tell you how rare it is. And he's not done yet.
Because the playoffs is about both, right?
Yeah.
You got the teams that can score, but it's also about stepping up defensively.
Yeah.
And you start to see those are the teams that can separate, that can play some defense, as we just talked about with the Minnesota Timberwolves. But this game really came down to that. Tyrese Halliburton, would he have 6 points on 6 shots, 3 turnovers?
Yeah.
Honestly, the Indiana Pacers had, if he plays better, they win this game. I mean,
100%.
Right, because they're up by 9 with about 10 minutes left. I think it's 94-85 with about 10 minutes. So they're up 9 with about 10 minutes left. And then there was a run, I think an 8-0 run by the Knicks to bring them back in. Then they're up 5, though. Indiana ends up being back up 5 with about 4.5 minutes left, which is essentially you're in clutch time there. And really, that's when Jalen Brunson made plays. DiVincenzo hit that big 3. Jalen Brunson had, I believe, 21 of his 43 points. Yes, he did in the fourth quarter. So he came up clutch in the clutch. But it really came down to clutch time, and the Knicks were able to steal this game in the last 4.5 minutes because Indiana played really well. And they just didn't have the star to step up in clutch time for him. And that should have been Tyrese Halliburton, as you said yesterday.
Yeah, and I mean, Miles Turner's been playing well, but, you can't have your star player at the end of the game not want to have the ball in his hands. And if you're only going to have 6 points, I need you to have double-digit assists. I need you to step up in another way and show, okay, well, I'm not, but I'm driving the ball. I'm pulling people in, and I'm finding guys. He has 8 assists, which is fine, but that's not enough. If you're scoring 6 points, you need to be involved on more plays at the end of the play. You need to be really trying to get this team winning the game. It was disappointing, and it's also the Knicks really got to figure out. They have been the beneficiary. They've been the non-beneficiary of calls at the end of these games. These refs are blowing way too many calls at the end of these games and being way too involved at the end of Knicks games. I mean, they had 3 calls overturned in it, which should tell you something. There was one where it was really blatant on the replay that it was off of the Pacers' legs, and they called it Pacers' ball. And the ref who called it that was the furthest away official who there's no way he could have ever seen it. The 2 that were closer said they couldn't do it. And so then so plays like that where you're like, well, now they have to use a challenge even though they shouldn't have to.
Yeah.
And
optics are terrible.
And so you did that, and then you can't challenge when they call a kicked ball, and it wasn't, and it was a fast break going the other way. That Pacers probably win the game if they don't get that call. If it's just a steal, they probably win the game. So you hate to see that, and there's no excuse. You have to play through the whistle. You have to be able to play above the referees. It's just a shame in the playoffs to keep seeing that be a narrative, especially around while Jalen Brunson's having these great games. He has 4 straight 40-point games, and you keep talking about the officials afterwards because they keep being so important in these close games. And it really should be much more about Jalen Brunson and what he's doing and leading this Knicks team. And it's just crazy because if you see the 2 sides of it, it's basically the Villanova boys for New York who are carrying this team right now. And DiVincenzo and Josh Hart and Jalen Brunson.
Oh, Josh Hart had a great game.
And those guys are carrying it. They don't have any bench help. And the Pacers are completely relying on their bench and completely relying on secondary stars because Tyrese Halliburton is not showing up. And then Pascal Siakam only had 19. Miles Turner's your lady with 23. One of those shots is a prayer at the end of the first half, which he throws up. So it's you watch this series, and I was talking with a friend of mine last night. We were watching it, and he's like, well, the Knicks are going to go. He goes, look, the Pacers are not doing well. Their stars are ice cold, and yet they're still winning. And I go, yeah, but it's a long game. And if you go to the fourth quarter with your bench leading the way, your bench is not going to be on the court at the end. And that's been the problem for the Pacers is when you get to clutch time, you need Siakam and Miles Turner out there, and you're relying on all these guys that are sitting on the bench now to carry you through this game. When you get into the second unit, you need to be able to go first unit with first unit, and they're just not able to do it right now because Tyrese Halliburton has not been the same player. He had that play at the end where I don't know what happened to him, but it looked like he rolled his ankle or something, and came down on a pass. And I don't know if it was he rolled his ankle or he realized they needed a 3 instead of a 2, and he was about to get a layup, and he basically just lost the ball trying to make a move. And it summed up what Tyrese Halliburton's been so far in the playoffs. I don't know if he can turn it around. I have no reason to believe he can.
You saw Jalen Brunson was ugly. Remember those first couple
yeah,
of
but
games
we're talking about
flipped a switch.
Several
different
weeks,
players, I know,
and we're talking about several weeks in the end of the season where Halliburton was not playing very well, and now every game in the playoffs he's not played very well. He's shooting less because he realizes he can't hit a shot.
He's like, I don't want to hurt my team because I'm out here.
But that's the point is, like, you see Brunson and all these other guys, and I'll talk about getting the free throw line, but even if you're not getting the free throw line, go lay the ball up, dunk the ball, get to the basket, and even if you're not getting fouled, you just getting shots up and getting baskets in and feeling good when you know I have 10 points now, even if they're all just driving in layups and going up strong at the basket. Once you have 10 points, it's easier to get the next 10. It's just basketball is a psychological game at a lot of points, especially with these guys who are just, so gifted and so talented and work so hard on their craft. You have to get out of your own brain, and you do that by scoring. And he just does not, when he drives, every time he's looking for a pass now.
Yeah.
Instead of going up strong and trying to compete with compete with these guys, where the Knicks, you're going up against Mitchell Robinson. They don't really, or Hartenstein. Like, they're good, not bad players, but they're also not. You're not talking about the best defensive players in the league who are going to, and rim defenders. So go up on them and challenge them. And if they stop you enough times, then fine. But I want to see you challenge them first.
Yeah, no, I mean, really, it came down to, and they just didn't have their star in clutch time, and Indiana should have won that game. Just watching it, and they played really, really well as a team. It was just the one factor: they didn't have their star in clutch time, and the Knicks did, and the Knicks guys stepped up. And yeah, Josh Hart, you brought him up, had a great game, playoff career high, 24 points, had 13 rebounds, 8 assists, played all 48 minutes actually. Yeah. He really put in some work for him.
That's going to be hard in this series because they are running. Indiana wants to be a transition team, and the Knicks said, fine, we'll be a transition team too. And so the pace of this game can get really crazy. The Knicks did do a good job of slowing it down a little bit in the second half, getting to the free throw line, trying to stop it down a little bit, because I think they, at halftime, I'm sure Thibodeau told them, it's fine, but we're losing doing this. So
it's not working for us.
Yeah, so we can do that all day, but if we play our style of basketball and we dictate our pace, then it's going to hurt them more. And I know that's ironic against the Pacers, but you want to, it's like you have to dictate the pace if you're the Knicks. You can't allow it to become just a run out, let Siakam and Turner and everybody go run the court on you all game, because that's what the Pacers want to do. So you have to play more Knicks style of basketball.
To your point, entering the series, Indiana led the playoffs in both ball movement and player movement.
Yeah.
And that was on display. They scored 28 points in transition in that game, which is more than the Sixers had in any of their 6 games against the Knicks. So to your point, very different style of play. One thing that also hurt the Pacers, this is a crazy stat, they had more turnovers in the fourth quarter than they had in the 3 previous quarters combined.
Yeah.
Really, and I think that goes back to what you talked about having your stars out there with the basketball in clutch time in the fourth quarter, and I think that goes back to a guy like Tyrese Halliburton having to step up for them. So Pacers had a chance to steal that game. I didn't say they gave it away because the Knicks played well, but man, they had a chance to steal that game down. About 4.5 minutes left, just couldn't pull it out. All right, I want to preview the Mavs Oklahoma City game a little bit too. So we'll have time right now. We'll do that though later on. I want to get to Wemby winning Rookie of the Year.
Yes.
Got some sound we're gonna play. Wemby being interviewed. There's a really cool kind of tribute they had with Wemby and some of the other historically great Rookie of the Year winners in the NBA. So I want to get to that a little bit later on. So we'll talk a ton of NBA. So we'll get to that. I promise. No man Patrick's excited to talk about Wemby a little bit too. He can't even contain himself. Look, he's like, I can't wait to talk about Wemby.
Always.
So we'll do that. I promise you later on. Let's go behind the burnt orange curtain next segment. We'll talk some Texas football. Joe Klatt has his post-spring top 25 ranking. We'll tell you where the Longhorns are ranked there. There are a couple of Longhorns doing great things in the community. They are leaders as well as Longhorn lifetime Longhorns. So we'll talk about that, give them some props, and we'll talk about the transfer portal. It give it, then it take it away. We'll get into the latest Longhorn portal acquisition for the Longhorns with the at the cornerback position, Javion Cole, and we'll also talk about some of the departures and where they ended up and where they landed and what that says about the attrition at the University of Texas. So all of that and more as we get into it. We'll come back. This is the Rodcast featuring Patrick Davis. I'm lifetime Longhorn. Rod Babers coming back on the horn. Hey, what's up, folks? Lifetime Longhorn Rod Babers here. I'm looking out at the backyard right now. It's looking lush and green in the backyard. And I got to tell you, I got my friends over at Callahan General Store to thank for that. They've done a great job of advising me on how to make sure that my yard is in golf course condition, trying this spring to make sure it is beautiful and lush and in the best possible condition. And they do a great job. Not only of advising you, but they have all the supplies, all the materials, all the resources you need, no matter what you're doing in your yard and no matter how big the task is for you, no matter how monumental the task, they can help you conquer it. Trust me on that one. I had a lot of weeds in my yard in both the back and the front. I thought it was something that I would never ever be able to finish, and I thought the weeds would win out in the end. They did not. Thanks to my friends over at Callahan's General Store. Now they got me on the pre-emergence, was I put down the barricade with nitrophos. That's just to kind of lay the foundation for you, kill the weeds initially, to start to get your grass a fighting chance, and then you put down the weed and feed. That's going to feed your grass, but also kill all those dandelions and the crabgrass. Then you need all your fertilizers, right? Your amendments. Maybe you need some grass seed to fill in those brown patches. You get all that at Callahan's as well. Trust me, they can advise you on this. Whatever the project that you're doing in the yard, however you want your yard to look, they have all the supplies you need. Even if you have a green thumb, you're starting to plant those seedling vegetables around the yard, they can help you out there as well. They have a tremendous variety of seedling vegetables and peppers and tomatoes and melons and other plants to choose from. They also have the fruit trees and the pecan trees there at Callahan General Store. They got it all there at Callahan General Store. Go check them out. You know where it is, 501 Bastrop Highway between downtown and the airport. Every day is a great day to make it a Callahan's Day. All right, welcome back to the Rodcast. I was just enjoying the music there for a minute. Welcome back to the Rodcast. Time to go behind the burnt orange curtain and talk a little Texas football. First, I want to give some props to a couple of lifetime Longhorns here because I do a third Longhorns podcast. Out to my man Nick Shuley who comes in. Nick Shuley's great, helps us organize it. He's the man, and we do it with Alex Okafor. Derek Johnson, Fozzie Whitaker, Jeremy Hills, great group of guys. We try to make sure we got enough people there because everybody's schedule is pretty hectic. So we get a group there together and talk Texas football whenever we get a chance, get to interview a lot of the players on the team. It's fantastic. But this is something I want to give them props for because I found out about it earlier this week. My man Alex Okafor, lifetime Longhorn Alex Okafor, was elected to the Pflugerville ISD Board of Trustees. Big time. So he's the newest board of trustee member for Pflugerville ISD. I knew he'd been working hard, doing some stuff in the community. So congrats to him, man. That is great. So he's putting in. A lot of guys talk about their dedication and commitment to the community. Obviously, that's where he's from. Man, Alex Okafor putting in the real work, leading by example. So that's great. And also shout out to my man Derek Johnson, legendary lifetime Longhorn Derek Johnson, who's going to give the commencement. He's going to be the commencement speaker for the College of Education coming up in spring of 2024. So shout out to my man Derek Johnson doing big things. And he has the Derek Johnson Foundation is great. It's all about literacy, childhood literacy, and making sure that kids who are youth age kids that they have an enthusiastic experience and enthusiasm for learning and for reading and for literacy overall. So he does a great job with that just in the community. But shout out to him giving the commencement address. So there are some legendary lifetime Longhorns doing great things, showing leadership in the community. I want to give them a shout out. Also, let's get into this transfer portal commitment for the Longhorns. And we'll talk about the departures too, because I think it's interesting. Now you're starting to see a lot of these guys land at certain places. And I've talked about the attrition that is now natural because of the transfer portal. Everybody's going to deal with attrition. So it used to be something that was seen as a negative trend or a negative pattern with your program to have a lot of attrition. I think it's just there's different types of attrition now. I think everybody's going to have it, especially Power 5 programs. But what's the type of attrition that you're having within your program? And I think Texas right now is having, if there is a such thing as good attrition, like good cholesterol. What I mean? Like it's there. Texas having, I think, some positive attrition. There are some bewildering, puzzling departures within the portal for Texas. The Terrence Brooks one. That's a little. I still haven't really gotten a good reason why Terrence Brooks hit the portal, but that's the only one. The rest of them make sense, and the rest of them, I think, are a result of Texas upgrading and churning out the bottom of their roster and just trying to add more talent, guys who just didn't have a path to play. But we'll summarize that and go over it here in just a second. But I did watch some more film of the young man Javion Cole. Call him J. Cole if you want to. I don't know. We asked that young man how he feels about the 10th portal commitment for the Longhorns. And I gotta say, the more film I watch on, the more I like. I'm gonna try to watch that. They played USC, so I'm gonna try to watch that game today sometime. But I watched the UNLV game. They played against UNLV. UNLV has a really good young receiver who, he's actually, I think he's going to end up playing on Sundays. He actually, if you look at Pro Football Focus, they claim that he was the highest graded returning receiver, period. And that he was the highest graded group of 5 receivers. His name is Ricky White out of UNLV. And I was Brendan Marion, announced the offensive coordinator there, who was the wide receiver coach and passing game coordinator here at Texas. So I wanted to go see kind of what the offense looked like, but also watch how Javion Cole matched up against that offense. So I watched that game. And I watched that Utah State game that they played. And Javion Cole, you can tell they don't target him. That was obvious in the USC game too. And he did not, he did not allow a completion in that USC game on him. Like I said, I want to go back and watch like play by play and see the targets and stuff like that. But they don't target him a lot. You can tell the preparation by the opposing team is, let's throw at the other corner. The other corner gets more targets and gets attacked more, if you will, than Javion Cole. So I think that alone, the respect alone, guys, is a good sign. Trust me, I've been the other corner. I was the other corner a lot because I played opposite Quentin Jammer, who's a top 5 pick. Played opposite Nathan Vasher, who all-time tied for the all-time lead in interceptions at Texas. You don't want to throw at them dudes. Like, that's stupid. So you throw at the other guy. Whoever that other corner is, I was the other corner. So I got a lot of work. I got a lot of targets at me. And it made sense, right? I mean, you got to choose out of those guys, which is also, why I'm top 5 in PBUs at Texas, right? Passes broken up, but I probably should be higher up on the interceptions list, but you guys know I dropped some of those. But I digress. So I do know that if you're throwing the football, you come up with a game plan, you're going to attack certain defenders before you attack more high-level elite defenders. You're going to single them out. I was often singled out. At least if you're throwing at the corners, you ain't going to throw at the All-American or the guy that is the all-time leader in interceptions. He'll make you pay. So that, I think, was a good thing. Also, you go look at his the way he plays. I don't necessarily like his run fits. I'll tell you what. I mean, I'm just looking at it as a scout. He's not great coming down to be a forced run defender. If you have to make him, fit in the running game, I worry about that on some of those wide receiver screens that everybody throws a ton of. He's gonna see, I don't know, 4-5 wide receiver screens a game. He's got to come down and be, a physical defender, beat the block, keep contained, force it back inside. I'm not saying I'm worried about it, but I didn't see a lot of effective run fits by him. And he's a corner, so he doesn't have to do it a lot. But Sark makes corners fit the run. That's why he likes those compressed sets, those condensed sets, those formations that are really tight, because they force the DBs to have to come up and be run defenders. And he knows that DBs don't like to fit the run, so you'll end up with some one-on-ones with your tight end on a DB, or the one-on-one will be Jay Brooks, in the hole against a nickel back, and Sark's like, that's a win for him. So we'll see. But in the SEC, that would be a concern. But I love the way he plays deep balls. Like I told you yesterday, he triangulates really well. And what I mean by triangulate, being able to, in zone coverage, being able to identify quarterback to number 1 to number 2 on your side. You're going to be able to see a wide view of the entire picture, to see to your side what your keys are, to be able to see out of your periphery. All right, you know what? I can see the number 1 receiver, but I'm keying the quarterback, and being able to snap his head right after he reads the first key, which is quarterback, or the 3-step. He can immediately, his very disciplined eyes, snapping his head back to number 1 or to his next key, which could be number 2 in the zone coverage. That's what I love about it. Texas DBs have issues at times with the disciplined eyes. So he's got really disciplined eyes, and I love the fact that they respect him. High IQ football player who just makes plays on the football. Said this yesterday. He makes a lot of plays on the football. And even in that game that I watched him versus Ricky White, like I said, who's going to play on Sundays, 2 targets and 2 passes broken up in that game. So, I mean, like I said, I think he is a coverage specialist. I worry about, like I said, run fit, and I worry if he can play press man, which Texas wants to do more of. He didn't do a lot of that I've seen so far. Didn't do a lot of that at San Jose State, but I think that was just more the system. They didn't want him doing it. Texas will ask him to do it. I think he could easily pick that up and become, a technician when it comes to his technique playing press. But they didn't ask him to do a lot. But he's excellent playing off coverage. I mean, he may be as good playing off coverage as, I'm trying to think right now, as Gavin Holmes is. And I got, Malik Muhammad is really good playing off coverage. Jahdae Barron, he may be your 3rd best off coverage corner right now, behind Jahdae Barron and behind Malik Muhammad. Just throwing it out there. So there you go. Looking at the latest transfer portal acquisition, Javion Cole for Texas. Let's talk about departures real quick. I've been on this for a while, that people used to look at attrition, like departures, people leaving via the transfer portal, as a really negative thing. If you had a lot of guys leaving in the last 2 transfer portal cycles combined, Texas had 21 guys leave. It's not a negative thing. It's only a negative thing really if you're having starters leave, a lot of starters. leave your program. That's troubling because it's hard to replace good starting reps. Out of the 21 guys that are leaving the program for Texas, pull up the list here. I think you got 2 starters out of that group, Terrence Brooks and Jaron Thompson. Now, there was some contributors. Savion Red contributed. He was I think a guy you can consider a contributor. I'm talking more than just special teams. I'm talking about somebody who actually gave you, important reps, in-game live reps, crucial reps during the game. Savion Red's in that category. Malik Murphy was in that category because he came in and was big time for you as a backup quarterback. Trill Carter was in that category on the interior defensive line. He was one of those guys. And Keaton Crawford was one of those guys, a contributor. So I would say you lost 2 starters, both in the secondary, Jaron Thompson and Terrence Brooks, and you lost 4 contributors. And one of those also is in the secondary, in Keaton Crawford. But that's, to me, that's Texas upgrading at safety, right? They believe bringing in Makuba is an upgrade. A young Derek Williams ascending is an upgrade. So they believe they upgraded at the safety position. The corner position, that's the only one that is worrisome. Every other position that Texas just kind of churned it out. And what I also try to keep up with now, and I'm glad that like On3 and other organizations like this keep up with the transfer portal departures and their destinations. I like to keep up with how many players are leaving your program that are going to Power 5 programs, Group of 5 programs. Now, 5 of these guys are undecided. That's Samaje Burrell, Terrence Brooks, Austin Jordan. We don't know yet. Remember Christopher Ross? I don't know where he ended up with. And Savion Red still hasn't announced where he's going. So you got 5 guys who are undecided. You got 9 guys who are going to the Group of 5 level. And you have 7 guys who are going to the Power 5. So that's not bad. 7 guys who are going to Power 5. That's you got 33% rate of your players. So a third of your players basically are being coveted by schools who are on your competitive level. And the guys who are going to the Group of 5, I mean, not that it's bad or anything like that, but they're going down to a lower competitive level. And to me, that's a different type of attrition. That means you've churned out the roster. And those are guys who may have been, like I say, they may have been the guys who had peaked a little early, potentially, or the guys that didn't fit your system. Guys that peaked too early, guys who may have been a little overrated when it comes to their recruiting score, potentially. And I think ultimately for Texas, that's most of their departures. But yeah, there are a couple that, you just genuinely are going to miss. I mean, and the guys who are going to Power 5 schools, Peyton Kirkland, it's one of those guys. Peyton Kirkland's going to Colorado. Zach Swanson going to Arizona State. Jamon Tapp is going to Arizona State. Malik Murphy went to Duke. Isaiah Nayor went to Nebraska. Trill Carter went to Auburn. And I believe, and you got Jaron Thompson who went to Auburn. So those are your team, your players that went to Power 5 programs. And I think it's good. Like I said, I think you should keep up with, if you're a Longhorn fan, you should keep up with, it's almost like stalking your ex. I always say cyber stalking your ex. That's not cool, but checking up on your ex, nothing wrong with that. And a lot of people check up on their exes on social media. There's a study that found that 48% of people remain friends with their exes on Facebook. 88% check up on their ex's page on Facebook. People check up on their exes. It's cool to check up on them. Don't cyber stalk. That's not cool. That's creepy. And same thing when you have players who are leaving the program. It's cool to check up on them because I think it's good if they're playing and actually starting at another program and they didn't start at Texas. Really good sign for your program. Really good sign for the overall health of your roster. That the guys that you churned out that didn't have a path to play went to Power 5 schools, Group of 5 schools, and were able to go there and contribute. So I try to keep up with, did they contribute where they went to, and did they start wherever they went? And if you have that type of attrition, that's positive attrition. That's like I said, it's like good cholesterol. Like that's like good fat, right? It sounds like, oh, that shouldn't be good for you, but that is good attrition in my opinion for Texas. So check on your ex, don't cyber stalk them. All right. We'll come back. We got big fat poll today on the other side, and we'll get into the musically themed day of the week right here on the Rodcast, featuring Patrick Davis on Lifetime Longhorn. Rod Davis coming back on the horn. Hey, what's up, folks? Lifetime Longhorn Rod Babers. I actually had someone the other day ask me, "Do I know a good dentist?" And I actually started laughing. Do I know a good dentist? I know a great dentist, Dr. Greg Eckert and his team. They are fantastic. Doctor, you can give you a brand new smile in just one day because he's always on the cutting edge of the technological advances in general dentistry. And right now, he has the ability to give you a brand new smile in just one day. As though it sounds too good to be true, it's not. It's just Dr. You. You'll smile again with confidence and eat freely without pain or discomfort. You'll get temporary fixtures if they complete your permanent smile. But if you've been told that your teeth need to be replaced and you've been told that you have to get dentures, this is a revolutionary alternative to dentures, a brand new smile in just one day. And it's a complimentary consultation, which means you got nothing to lose, but you have so much to gain. Even if you have dentures already, this is also something that you can pursue and it can change your life. A confident smile can truly change your life. And Dr. U is all about changing your life for the better. All right. So make sure you reach out to Dr. U, but it can be anything, right? Maybe it is you trying to get a brand new smile and you want that Hollywood smile that can truly change your life. But maybe it's just something simple like a routine checkup, or maybe it's just a simple cleaning or general dentistry, or, the dentures or porcelain crowns, teeth whitening, veneers, dental implants, full mouth reconstruction, root canal therapy, you name it, from the simple to the routine to something very serious like I had to deal with. I had to have all my wisdom teeth removed. I went to Dr. U's office just for a simple cleaning and checkup, and they found that my wisdom teeth were growing in sideways, and I was on the verge of a disastrous situation. They acted quickly. They made the appointment. They made sure that I was comfortable and educated, informed about the entire process, got it done in a couple of hours, was back at work within a couple of days, and my dental health and hygiene have never been better. They changed my life for the better. So now I'm a Dr. U fan. So anytime somebody asks me, do I have a great dentist? You're damn right I do. I got Dr. U. Give them a call, 512-345-3166, or visit drueckert.com, drueckert.com.
Back on the Rodcast here on a Tuesday morning, and that means it is a top of the charts Tuesday where I'll play music for you all show long. That was number one on the Billboard charts on this day in history. We'll keep it rolling wrong. A little Three Dog Night to start you off. And it'll bring us to our big fat poll of the day. Text line's open 512-447-3776.
Patrick's big fat poll of the day on the Horn.
Big fat poll of the day today. Watching the Pacers and the Knicks and a really, really fun game last night. It made me nostalgic for the 90s. Made me nostalgic for some 90s rivalries. We talked about it a little bit yesterday. The Pacers and the Knicks with Reggie Miller and Spike Lee and all of that fun stuff. So I want to ask you today, what was your favorite 90s sports rivalry? What was a rivalry in the 90s that you think was the one that you look back on with the most fondness? Boy, you know, Pacers and Knicks, Cowboys, 49ers, great 90s rivalry, Braves and the Yankees meeting up in multiple World Series. You could go with, we'll go with the player versus player, Sampras versus Agassi in tennis when tennis was lighting it up. You can go women's basketball, UConn and Tennessee when it was Pat Summitt versus Gino Urema.
Yeah, that's good.
Maybe you can even go like Florida State, Miami in college football. Solid in the 90s. What was your favorite 90s sports rivalry?
That's good. That's a good one. I'm probably going to go. I'm a little biased here just because I'm looking at it through the lens of my favorite player all time, which is Dion. So I'm probably going to go with Cowboys 49ers just because of how he swung the rivalry himself.
Yeah.
One man swung it. He really did. He went to the 49ers, won defensive player of the year. They were the 49ers. They won the Super Bowl and plays both ways. Then goes to the Cowboys. That was the peak of Dion's fame. Like he was the biggest star arguably in the NFL at the time. Like you could make that claim as a cornerback. And Jerry was like, I gotta have him. I forgot the deal that Jerry gave him. He made him some unprecedented deal for a cornerback. That might have been my favorite because it's rare that players now that rivalry was incestuous too. You had a lot of players back and forth. Yeah. Norton and Haley. You had a lot of guys going back and forth the rivalry, but so that became a theme of it. But Dion just swung it. Like literally, it's like you got him, you win it, and then you win that rivalry, you're gonna win the Super Bowl. Because those were the two best teams in the NFL at the time. So that made a big impression. I was impressed at the time. Dion was my favorite player. Dion posters up, had Dion jersey, and now I had the Dion shoes. Remember the Dion shoes? Oh man, I had Dion everything. If I could get Dion, I had it. The video game, Dion had a video game. I had the Dion video game. I had everything you could have with Dion. So I was obsessed with prime time, and I remember that vividly, how he affected that rivalry.
Yeah, no, he definitely did. Yeah, because that was I remember when he came to Dallas, and it was shockwaves. This was Jerry Jones really going all out, and I mean he was all in. You know, Jerry was all in.
Well said. Well done. He was so. His definition has changed over the years quite a bit.
No, it hasn't because he's always been all in, and so is every other team in the NFL. So remember that.
They're all in. Everybody's all in all the time. What do you mean? Oh, that's great.
Let's go to the text line 512-447-3776. What's your favorite 90s sports rivalry? Big fat poll of the day today.
Oh man, that was some good ones because the NBA had some really good ones too in the 90s. Because the Bulls had multiple rivals.
They
in
did.
The 90s.
That's it. Basically, I picked the Pacers and the Knicks as the NBA one because it didn't involve the Bulls because it's like Bulls and Knicks, Bulls and Pacers, Bulls and Jazz, Bulls and Rockets, Bulls and Bulls and Adverse Bulls, just everybody.
That you're right about that. It was. That was like it was. It was like the Drake beef right
and
now.
The reality was the rivalry of it. Most rivalries you have to have a back and forth. Maybe you could say Bulls Pistons. Because the Pistons, but that was real early on. But if you say Bulls Pistons, because I feel like in a rivalry, one side has you can't be all one sided. And like Bulls and Knicks want to be a rivalry, but you're like Knicks, you never won. It was always the Bulls.
Yeah, it was heated. It was heated and it was intriguing. But you're right, the Bulls always won.
Yeah,
they always came on top. So I can't say that about the Jazz either because the Bulls always won.
Yeah.
You got to win one of them to make it a rivalry. Great point on that. Great point. All right, I love that. I got to do this a little bit of research. I think it's going to be a Dion one for me just because it ties so many of my childhood inspirations together. All right, good stuff there from my man Patrick. What is your favorite 90s sports rivalry? Oh, that was a good. That's good. The 90s sports rivalry. Honestly, we could just, if we're going 90s rivalries, then I'll take Biggie versus Tupac.
I know. This is why I threw the word sports in. It's why I threw it in, Ron. Because I was like, I can guarantee I know what Ron's going to say if I don't say sports.
Thank you for clarifying it. Make sure you put parameters on that. You know me too well. All right, we come back. We got more NBA on the side. We got to talk Wemby a little bit. Wemby wins Rookie of the Year, a unanimous Rookie of the Year selection. We'll get into that. We'll hear from Wemby as well, and also review the games last night. Thrilling games in the NBA. Preview the games tonight. Mavs got a big game coming up versus the Oklahoma City Thunder. We'll talk about it. All of that and more right here on the Rodcast featuring Patrick Davis. I'm Lifetime Longhorn. Rod Davis coming back on the horn. Welcome back to the Rodcast featuring Patrick Davis. He's the Idealionaire. Comes up with the musically themed days of the week. And Tuesday is my favorite musically themed day of the week because it is a top of the charts Tuesday. That's when Patrick plays jams that reach the top of the Billboard charts on this day in history. Do you know how to do the locomotion?
I don't.
I actually don't know if I know how to do it. I guess I can listen to the lyrics and visualize it, but I actually, yeah, I gotta go see. I don't think I know how to do it.
I don't even know.
Let me go look this up.
Yeah, I don't know. Quick. I don't know the. I'm sure there is
locomotion dance. I mean, I just saw a YouTube video. I mean, it's too old. Like, how am I gonna learn how to do it? I gotta see if there's anybody doing the loco because I don't even know how it looks. The locomotion.
It came out of what 1962, the original. Because this is
okay. There's a lady on. Okay, I got a YouTube lady doing the locomotion line. There's a locomotion line dance. I think. I don't know. This is I have no idea. I can say I just wonder. Like the twist was simple. Let's talk about old dances. Like I get some of them are simple. I don't know how. You know what I mean? I don't know how that locomotion looks. There you go. So
no, I don't
know. If anybody knows on the text line, just hit us up. Let us know. How's the locomotion? Do you remember how it goes back in the day? Did you ever do the locomotion at the club? Maybe I did and didn't even know it because I have no idea what it is. But there you go. That's that was the top of the charts, though. It obviously reached it took over the country at one point. Everybody was doing the damn locomotion.
Yeah, but this was Grand Funk Railroad who did it, who made it #1 there. And I think Kylie Minogue may have had a #1 hit with it too later on.
So twice it came back.
Yeah. So this is the second version of it. There's the first version. There's the second version, and then there was a third version.
How far apart were these versions of these covers?
Let's see. So the first version was 62. The second version was 74.
Damn.
And then 88 by Kylie Minogue.
Hold up. We're talking about 3 decades we've been doing the locomotion.
62 was this one in 62 was #1. The one in 74 was #1. Kylie Minogue's only #3. She didn't make it up to #1.
So hold up. Why hasn't anybody remade the locomotion song? Because obviously it's very popular. I mean, you can guarantee yourself top 5 on the Billboard with the locomotion.
Drake, if you want to win if you want to win the rap battle, let's do the locomotion.
Oh, that was well done. Well done. Just try to get as many of those references in as we can. People are like, I gotta look this up because I am tired of Ryan and Patrick to keep talking about this damn thing. There you go. Seriously, I swear I say this all the time, but it's true. I learned so much on Top of the Charts Tuesday. That's a random conversation. Had no idea that the locomotion had been remade 2 different times after the original, and in 3 different decades we've been doing locomotion, and I still don't know how to do it.
None of us know how to do it. Completely oblivious to do the locomotion. We're all supposed to do it according to the song.
I mean, it's been around for a long time. Just surprised. All right. You know, oh yeah, I got a little video here apparently, so I'm gonna look at this later in the break. Find out how to do locomotion. I'll do that. All right. Let's start with the big fat poll of the day. My man Patrick threw that out there last segment, and it was a good one. And I'm still contemplating this. But give the folks the topic of the big fat poll of the day.
Big fat poll of the day. What was your favorite 90s sports rivalry? We've thrown out a bunch of them. We've seen a couple other ones. Tyson versus Holyfield, they're throwing out now.
Oh, good. Well done.
But again, this is a one-sided one. And I know it was a great rivalry, but they fought twice, and Holyfield won both.
Yeah, but they bit the ear off.
Bite the ear off on the
second stand out.
It does stand out because there was body dis.
Yes. Body parts. Yeah, you got body parts being bitten off. I don't think this ever happened in a boxing event ever. So, hey, man, that made it a rivalry. I will give that an exception to our rule that both sides got to win one to be a rivalry. Come on, man.
Yeah,
that's the one that stands out.
That's a solid one. Stands out. Yeah, and then I knew we were going to get at least one wrestling. Ric Flair and Sting, which I agree was a great rivalry. But if we go into 90s wrestling rivalries, it's going to
start with me.
It's going to be over.
Yeah.
It's over.
It's going to be
the whole rest
of
the show.
Hulk Hogan and Ultimate Warrior was a good one.
I mean, the
they only faced off one time, too.
They only faced off one time. No, they did it twice. And they did it in WCW, and it was god-awful.
Oh, I don't remember that one. I remember the WrestleMania
Be happy.
one.
There was a scene in that where Hulk Hogan is looking in a mirror, and then Warrior appears in the mirror, and all of us can see him, and Hogan can see him, but Eric Bischoff's in the room with him, and he can't see him. So we don't know as a fans if we're not supposed to be able to see him or see him. Yeah,
like a Christmas Carol kind of thing going on with ghosts of past.
It was bad. And then
I do not, man. I don't remember that one. You know, your boy was
Brutus
a Hulkamaniac.
Beefcake was the disciple, and he was hanging out with Warrior and
it does sound
the NWO,
familiar.
and then he was.
It does sound vaguely familiar.
Instead, they're fighting the NWO. They were fighting with the One Warrior Nation, the OWN. Oh, so bad. Everything about it was so bad.
You mean owned like the Oprah Winfrey Network?
And then Brutus Beefcake was trying to do a stunner to try and like match Stone Cold. Everything about it was awful.
That was
And I know way too much.
Maybe that's why I put it out of my memory. That could be why I put it out of memory. It's like, no, that's just a terrible, terrible time in wrestling. Period. But you're right. If we go wrestling, then it would take a while. It'd take a while for us. I mean, that's because both of us go down that rabbit hole. And I enjoyed and we enjoyed it very much. But I don't know if people listening.
No, I know. We gotta move on.
Okay, there you go. So 90s sports rivals. We'll take those on the text line 512-447-3776. But honestly, one you said that was underrated though might be that Andre Agassi Pete Sampras one.
It was huge.
If you talk about the balance, because I believe they each won their fair share.
They each won their fair share, and it was also like the two sides of people. The Agassi, for the beginning had the mullet and the earrings, and all the flashy clothes, which were flashy for the 90s. They were very 90s.
Oh
clothes.
no, he was. He had like bandanas and stuff. He wear and all kind of weird stuff.
And then Pete Sampras was just a dude.
and you're right. He was so clean cut though, right?
Yeah,
Pete Sampras, he was kind of clean cut. And Andre, you're right about that. Andre actually would have like stubble and stuff. Yeah, no, he was. I remember the two sides in the dichotomy of the rivalry. That was a good one. That might be one of the better ones. That, like I said, that San Fran Cowboys rivalry for me. San Fran Dallas rivalry was big. All right, there you go. Check it out on the text line 512-447-3776. All right, we're going to talk NBA here. We'll review the games last night. Do want to preview the games tonight. So maybe we'll start off with the preview of the Mavs versus Oklahoma City, and then we can go back and review the games from last night. Before we do any of that, let's get updated. Let's get educated. Let's get informed with the top headlines of the day with my man Patrick Davis and the Horn Headlines.
All right, your Horn Headlines brought to you by Top Gun Rentals and Lawn Equipment. In the NBA, the Knicks were able to close out the Pacers 121-117 to take a 1-0 lead in the series behind the fourth straight 40-point game from Jalen Brunson, who becomes just the fourth player in NBA history to have 4 straight 40-point games in the playoffs. Meanwhile, the Nuggets are reeling after a 106-80 loss to the Timberwolves, falling down to 2-0 in the series, where the defense led the way to Minnesota. Denver will now have to wait until Friday to try and get back in the right track, trying to become only the 6th team to ever lose their first 2 games at home and come back to win a 7-game series. Tonight, the other 2 second-round matchups begin with the Celtics taking on the Cavaliers and the Thunder facing the Mavericks. In other NBA news, Victor Wembanyama was named the Rookie of the Year in a unanimous vote. Wemby becomes only the 6th player in league history to win the award by unanimous vote, and will now wait to see if he won the Defensive Player of the Year award as well. That is set to be announced tonight. In Major League Baseball, the Astros will begin their series with the Yankees tonight, hoping to avenge being swept by New York earlier this season. Justin Verlander will get the call for the Astros, who have struggled all season. And the Rangers took care of the A's in their first game of the series 4-2 after a 3-run home run from Corey Seager in the 8th inning. The Rangers have Jose Urena scheduled to make his first start of the season in what looks to be a bullpen game. You can catch pregame beginning at 2 p.m. right here on the Horn, and that is your Horn Headlines.
All right, thank you, Patrick, for the Horn Headlines. Before we preview the games tonight, we do have to talk about the statement the T-Wolves made and the statement they've been making so far in the playoffs. 6-0 in these playoffs so far, and that may have been the loudest statement that they've made since they started this playoff run. They, at one point, had a 32-point lead on the Denver Nuggets, and that is the largest deficit that Denver's had at home since 2018, and the largest home playoff deficit they've ever had in the history of the organization. And it was, this is, like I said, it was and I know we talked about the coming out party of Anthony Edwards and how great he's been, but this was more of a team win. Because Anthony Edwards, he was great. He made he made some eye-popping plays. He had 27 along with Cat, but it was the defense. And they've been an elite defense all season long, but people just haven't watched the T-Wolves. But that defense suffocated Denver. 11 steals. They had 12 blocks without Rudy Gobert, which I think was probably the biggest stat or fact, most impressive one. They had an all-time great defensive showing in the playoffs, holding Denver to under 35% shooting from the field, under 30% from three-point range, without arguably the best defensive player in the league. That is troubling if you're a Denver Nuggets fan. I mean, there ain't no other way around it. And now going down 2-0 to this team, they didn't just look hungry, man. They look ravenous. They look like they were ready to take some heads off, and pretty much they did. That was an old biblical style butt whipping they put on Denver.
Yeah, I mean, if you look at the style of defense Minnesota plays, and they have different ways they can do it. In game one, there was a lot more of, sticking big man after big man out there on Jokic, but then they would also let Rudy Gobert play off in some of these matchups, put Karl Anthony Towns on him or put Naz Reid on him, and then have Rudy Gobert just rim protect. In this one, they kind of just took that same method, said, we're going to take away the rim protector, so you guys need to play more intense defense on the perimeter and just suffocate Jamal Murray. And when Jokic tries to dribble the ball, go for the ball. Get in his way. Direct him off of his path. You don't have to stop him. You just want to direct him off of his path. So when he's trying to go to the basket, he no longer has to play at the basket. He's headed past it. So now he's got to pass the ball. And when he's got to pass the ball, his defenders are trying to get to open lanes, take away his passing lanes. And so he's throwing passes, trying to fit him in really small windows. And the rest of this Nuggets team is not moving around quite where they know where they're supposed to be. And it leads to turnovers. And there was a lot of turnovers early, especially for Jokic. And they're finding this way to really get them off their game. And then they won the battle of mentality and just taking Denver, that just feels like they have not been challenged like this in 2 seasons. And they don't like it. And it'll be interesting to see how they respond. But, man, it is crazy to see Jamal Murray just really taken out of his game. He's played really well in the playoffs, but that was not a good performance by him. And continuing to get upset, should have been probably thrown out by how much he yelled at the refs, then threw a heating pad on the court. Just stuff that you can't do in a playoff game. And I mean, maybe part of it was he did want to get tossed to prove his point that the refs are corrupt, that the refs were trying to screw him, and they have a vendetta against Denver.
Yeah,
and they
just
won.
for the money sign at the ref at one point.
It's Minnesota, too. Like, it's such a weird. I get there's teams that you would say, like,
point.
if it's LA or
LeBron,
if it's the Knicks, then you go, oh man, they're getting better. But if it's Minnesota, you're like, yeah, everybody really wants to see Rudy Gobert in the title game. And Karl Anthony Towns is the guy they're going to build the. It's like, I get it.
Fair. That's
and so I think there's points to it, but yeah, there's no way they were trying to make it that bad in Denver. The refs, they're just letting them play a lot more, which they've been doing more in the second half of the season. And then they were doing, you do more in the playoffs. And it can be really frustrating. It's when guys play like that and they have such length and such athleticism, it's just extremely, extremely frustrating. There were some missed calls. There's missed calls on both ends. But it was there, once they got in his head, they blew a call where it should have been a charge on Karl Anthony Towns. They didn't call it. And from that point on, Jamal Murray was set in his mind that the fix was in. And, he had plays where he was going at the refs. He was talking to his dad throughout the game. He was he picked up a couple dumb fouls where he just grabbed and basically ripped at a guy and then looked over like, oh, I guess you called that one. You're like, yeah, you intentionally fouled him.
He was literally just unraveling right before our eyes.
And so he needs to, luckily they're off till Friday. So they need it. He needs to go back and watch the game film and really watch it and say, okay, that wasn't a foul. I overreacted on that one. I overreacted on that one. Calm down in the moment. You get up to it. Calm down. They blew a few, but not enough that I should have acted like this. I need to fix my game and get a little bit better. I think the second half, they looked better. Jokic looked better in the second half, but they just need to figure out a way to calm themselves down when Minnesota really starts to put it on them. Slow down, get the play back out, get back out, and try and get a bucket or two and temper what Minnesota's been able to do. But it was a dominant performance.
It really was. Like I knew we talked about how talented that T-Wolves team was. I just had no idea how deep they were without Rudy Gobert, and they still just had long, big bodies to throw at Jokic and the Nuggets. Kyle Anderson played well. He had 8 assists and 9 rebounds. Playing in place of Rudy Gobert, who's out because, for those who don't know, he's expecting a child, so no injury or anything. He's expecting the birth of his son. That's why he didn't travel with the team. Like I said, they got Nas Reed. They got Alexander Wall. They just got guys.
Yeah.
They got guys they can throw at you. And I don't think we haven't seen Denver face this kind of adversity. What did Rudy T always say? Never underestimate the heart of a champion.
Yeah, that's what he says.
We'll find out. This is the heart of a champion moment for Denver. It is.
Very much is.
They can still get beat, but you can't get swept. That'd be ugly. But I believe last time that happened was the Lakers, I believe, in 2011.
You can't get swept
champion.
You can't get swept and then cry about that you're not getting when you've been able to dominate for 2 years and then say all of a sudden they played a different style of basketball against us and we couldn't. That's not fair. You can't. It's like, that's
exactly.
You have to go against it. They're going to play you rough. They're going to bounce around, but it's just length and athleticism. It's really, really hard to play against. If those guys are going to be that ferocious, but you just have to try and go back at them, play quicker, try and wear them out by running up and down the court, instead of setting up in half court and allowing them to trap you, try and get up and down the court, try and set up quicker, try and do those types of things. You just can't play into their hands and then wonder why it's going the wrong way.
No, I'm with you on that. I can't wait to see what the adjustment's going to be. And you're going to get everything Denver's got in that game 3. I mean, that thing's going to feel like a game 7.
Oh, Minnesota's be going nuts at home.
Yeah,
those fans are going to be going crazy.
That's going to be a must watch. That game 3 is going to be a must watch.
Friday night TV.
Ooh, you're right. And Minnesota's the last time Minnesota had a game that big.
I don't know. That is
right. It's been a long time, man. Got to be going back. I mean, that's KG's time, maybe. Yeah. KG time, and that's a long time ago. KG in Minnesota, that was a long time ago, man. So yeah, you're right. That's gonna be electric. So teams up 2-0 on the road are 11-2 in the semifinals, 36-5 overall in the playoffs. So, So it ain't looking good for Denver. I ain't saying they can win it, but they got to come back and make this thing a series. They got to come back at least make it a series.
Yeah.
If they don't, there'll be a lot of questions about really just, I don't know, if you're Denver, that's being shell shocked. I don't think anybody expected Minnesota to come out gangbusters like that. I said it would be a good series, and I might be wrong. I might have been wrong about that.
We all thought it was going to be a good series. We all had this one we had it as there's 3 really good series in the second round and one that we didn't want to see. And it's the Celtics and Cavs is the one that you're like, I don't really think this is going to be a great series. Maybe Cavs show up, maybe they show out, but we thought that, this Denver Minnesota series is going to be really good. Pacers Knicks we knew was going to be a good series. And then this Mavs and Oklahoma City Thunder series is going to be a lot of fun too.
Now, okay, let's get into that a little bit. We review the Knicks and their win over the Pacers. We'll get to that too, I promise. And we got the Wemby sound, so we're gonna push Rod's rant to the next segment, and we'll play some of that Wemby's audio and talk Wemby winning a unanimous Rookie of the Year, which is no surprise to anybody. But I think he also should win Defensive Player of the Year whenever they're gonna announce.
They're announcing it tonight.
Right?
Yeah, it's announced tonight. The MVP gets announced Wednesday. So they're trying to get it all out before that schedule release on Thursday. They got to push it out.
The NFL is so shady. The NFL be trying to leak their stuff. What the NBA doing? MVP, leak those schedules. But how about this? The Thunder are the youngest team in NBA history to win a playoff series. I didn't realize that. So they're a young team.
They're super young, yeah.
Hopefully that's a factor that is advantageous to the Mavs. The Mavs as a team, I think overall, more playoff experience as an organization. Now, SGA, he's got playoff experience. Dort's got playoff experience, but not overall as a team. They don't have that much.
No, and I mean, neither one of those guys has like major playoff experience. Now you're talking about Kyrie Irving, who's won an NBA championship.
Boom.
Kyrie Irving's one of the last like old school guys. I see people saying he's one of the last OGs in the playoffs right now.
Oh yeah, you're right.
He played in that LeBron championship in Cleveland, so he's been around long enough that people are saying he's one of the last old school, like this guy's old school generation, which is crazy to think Kyrie's that in that camp.
I feel old,
but I think he'd be the newest OG if you put him in there. But you have them. He's won an NBA championship. Luka has been to a Western Conference Finals. Luka has played well in the playoffs before. So, they have a little bit more experience on this team. But that didn't seem to be a problem in the first round for the Thunder. They're playing a different style of basketball. They don't seem to care about it. The pressure has not gotten to them yet. You wonder if it's going to get to them now. The fact that normally these young teams aren't 1 seeds, so they don't have home court. So you have the issue of your first road, you're going on the road to start a series versus doing it at home, where it's just a lot easier to make your own adjustments. You have your crowd. If you get, if the other team comes out strong against you, you have your own team to go against, your own fans to support you.
Yeah.
There's just a lot more things that are helping a really, really young team do well in the playoffs. And I mean, this is a series. If I had to pick it right now, I'll say OKC, just because the amount of talent they have on that team and how well they've been playing. And it doesn't really seem like too many people have an answer for them. But this is a Mavs team that we know has 2 guys on it who can take over the game and take over series. And if Luka can shoot at a high level and not just be a volume shooter and have too many turnovers, if he can shoot at a high level, his usage rate is in a positive way as opposed to in a more negative way where he's holding on to the ball too much and he shoots under 35% and he has 4 turnovers in a game. You have to be able to play better basketball than that for Luka, and he knows he can do it. But they're going to be bringing out Lou Dort on him probably a lot, Jalen Williams on him some too. Some really good young defenders who are going to try and blitz at him the same way they've been blitzing Denver. You want to kind of blitz these guys and throw them off their game and make the other players beat you, and that's where Dallas is going to have to worry about it. If they really try and blitz and slow down Luka and Kyrie, can the rest of the guys make them pay enough, hit some threes? We know Maxi Kleber is probably going to be out for a little bit right now because of that injury, just taking a hard fall on his shoulder. So, if he's out, he's somebody that had, 2 big games in the last series where he hit some big threes. So can somebody else step up and hit those big threes and make the big plays to make Oklahoma City respect the rest of the Mavs? That's the big question in this series. If they don't have that, I don't know how they win in a series that Oklahoma City just has too many options. And the defense of the Mavs, as good as it's been for some of it with the other players, they can find other guys. And Jalen Williams and SGA are going to get theirs. Josh Giddey's a good passer. He has not been the offensive threat scoring-wise, but he's still a pretty good passer. He doesn't play a ton of minutes in these games either. He's kind of slowed down as one of the stars. Chet Holmgren, you're going against him. Daniel Gafford got abused in that first series and had to keep coming out of the game. Can Derek Lively and Daniel Gafford stay on a guy now that's not going to be beating him in the post, but he can go inside. He can play outside. Can you play defense on Chet Holmgren, or does he have a coming out party? There's just so many weapons that Oklahoma City has, and the Mavs have to play at a really, really high level. Everyone on the court has to do it. So it's going to be rough. I can't wait to watch it because what Kyrie and Luka can do.
Yeah.
But I don't know if I can bet on them doing it 4 games out of 7.
Yeah. And I don't know if the Mavs have been playing really good defense. Toward the end of the year, they were playing some of the best defense in the NBA. And even that series versus the Clippers, now it helps that Kawhi didn't play most of the games. But they limited the Clippers to fewer than 95 points in 3 games in that first round. I don't know how it's going to – I don't know if it translates as well to OKC because they got a lot more weapons.
Because the Clippers were a very much star-based system.
Yeah.
And Westbrook did not play well. James Harden had some bad games in there as well. And that was defensively for the Mavs putting it on them. But once you lose those guys out, it was Zubac who was kind of the standout player. Everybody else on the team maybe had one good game. But in OKC, if you haven't watched Jalen Williams play this season, they have 2 of them. But Jalen, I believe, is the one who is doing really, really well. SGA, of course, is a MVP candidate. He's one of those guys that's one of the best players in the league. You throw in there what Chet Holmgren can do at 7 feet tall, 7 something, and can shoot a 3 and can go post you up and go inside. And Derek Lively and Daniel Gafford are not guys that are going to really push you out. So he's not playing against a guy that's necessarily going to keep him out of the paint. So there's just so many weapons, and that doesn't include Lou Dort, who can hit threes. If Lou Dort starts hitting threes on you and playing defense, those are the problems. Some of those other guys. If Josh Giddey hits threes, it's a problem. And so you have to hope that you're able to kind of pressure those guys enough to make them miss some shots and get those balls and come back down the other end of the court. But I'd say going fast again for the Mavs. I know this is a younger team. You'd probably want to slow it down sometimes. But if you let their defense get set, it's going to be more difficult on the Mavs to score when they try and go in these ISOs against really good young defenders who are going to be able to play minutes.
Yeah, with Chet at the rim, protecting the
Yep.
rim too. No, I'm with you on that. And I know they're going to have trouble defending Luka and Kyrie, but it's really going to come down to, I think, like we always said, stars in clutch time. This matchup could go either way. I think right now Oklahoma City is where I'm leaning, but I'd love to see the Mavs. I'd love to see Luka take over. I thought Luka would win MVP. That was not the case, but I think he could make some people regret their vote if he showed out in this playoff series. He's going to have to in order for them to beat OKC. Okay, good breakdown there from my man Patrick. We'll come back. We'll get into Raj Rant. It'll just be a quick one to give a little update on Dak Prescott, and then we'll talk about Wemby. And we're going to hear from Wemby as well about his historic Rookie of the Year campaign. All of that and more when we come back. This is the Rodcast featuring Patrick Davis. I'm Lifetime Longhorn Rod Davis coming back on the horn. Hey, what's up, folks? Lifetime Longhorn Rod Babers here. If you're sitting in traffic right now, and you're probably a little upset about that, and you know that's completely normal. Everybody's upset in traffic, but you can make your traffic experience a little bit more enjoyable if you were in a car that you actually enjoyed, a car that brought you joy. And right now, your car may not be doing that. Maybe you're in a car that's a little bit run down. Maybe the car no longer fits your lifestyle or your budget. Maybe you just want a new car. Maybe you want to enjoy that new car smell. Whatever the reason, you're in the market for a new car, you need to reach out to my friends over at Apple Leasing. Now, Apple Leasing, they can get you the price you want, the payment you want on the car that you want. The pros at Apple Leasing have been doing this here in Austin for 4 decades because they do it the right way, making sure they take care of their customers, and customer satisfaction is their top priority. They have the ability to put you in any make or model vehicle that you want. And like I said, they can help you get the price you want, the payment you want on the car you want. And all it takes from you is one phone call or one click on Apple Lease's website, and you'll get a quote on any make or model vehicle that you want. They can even give you an estimate on the value of your trade-in right over the phone. They have what they call a simple interest easy lease, which makes things simple and easy, right? It's going to give you a lot more flexibility, which is going to give you more possibilities and options to help you find the vehicle that fits you best, but more importantly, the vehicle that fits your budget best. My friends at Apple Leasing understand that everything's overpriced these days, which is why leasing makes more sense than ever. You're only paying for the part of the car you're actually using. That's value. And my friends at Apple Leasing are trying to give you as much value as possible. They also understand that your time is valuable. Your time is, time is money, and they want to save you both. They're going to save you time, save you money, and also find you tremendous value. So what are you waiting for? Give them a call today, 512-346-9977. That's 512-346-9977, or visit appleleasing.com. That's appleleasing.com. All right, welcome back to the Rodcast. Time for Rod's rant of the day. I want to hit the Cowboys here really quickly. RJ Cho does a great job with blogging the boys and covering the Cowboys. He was on the Kay Adams show and they had an interesting conversation about Dak. The piece of audio here that we're going to play is essentially the conversation RJ Cho was saying that he believes there is a point on the timeline here where he'll grow concerned that the Cowboys are going to be in the worst case scenario when it comes to Dak, the doomsday Dak scenario, where Dak will indeed play out the last year on his deal and hit free agency, which, it's still hard to believe that it's, a realistic possibility, but it indeed is. Here's RJ Cho on the K Adams show saying if they don't sign him at this point or by this point, then you may have something to be concerned about, Cowboys fans. Here's RJ Cho.
If it doesn't get done before the season with Dak, what happens?
I mean, Dak is in a very, very powerful position, right? I mean, we saw the money that Kirk Cousins obviously commanded on the open market and has commanded on the open market twice, even when he initially joined the Minnesota Vikings. And so, Dak has the potential to do that and to, do so in his early 30s and with all this attention, especially if he plays well again and all this kind of favor working behind him as wind in his sails. And so I would offer that if this doesn't get done, before the season, at that point, I'd start to kind of personally accept that he's probably moving on in 2025 because he'd be so close to it. I don't know how you could convince him to not, at the very least, entertain offers from anybody else, because we kind of haven't seen that in the NFL. A quarterback in the prime of their career reaching true free agency. Yes, Kirk Cousins. Yes, Peyton Manning even, but obviously he was coming off of the injury. Mm-hmm. I mean, he could, he's got a daughter now and, he's obviously an incredible businessman. He has the potential to do something historic and something that would be historic for the position and for players in general. And Dak has obviously always been about empowerment on a lot of levels. So if it doesn't happen, my own personal deadline that I put on it, the Cowboys return to Frisco for a portion of training camp. If they're back from California without it done, because they do tend to historically do big time extensions while in California, that's when I would kind of really reach DEFCON 1 and it would start to feel like this was going south.
All right, there you go. And nothing, I mean, it's going to be crickets until then. And remember, basically Dak and Jerry Jones have pretty much both implied that they're not currently working on a new deal, that they have an understanding. But when they get back together, that could change. So interesting stuff there. All right, let's hit the Wemby story here, because Wemby won Rookie of the Year, unanimous Rookie of the Year selection, and I don't think that was anybody who thought otherwise, even from the time that he was drafted. But he is the fifth player in NBA history to be a unanimous Rookie of the Year. Ralph Sampson, David Robinson, Blake Griffin, Damian Lillard, and Karl Anthony Towns. So he's the sixth one to do it, I should say. So here
I had to look up.
Oh, go ahead.
Keith Van Horn stole votes from Tim Duncan. Keith Van Horn.
Oh,
come on, voters.
Keith Van Horn stole a couple of votes from Tim. Yeah, that is interesting, because you had David Robinson and
I was like, that was a historically weak draft that Tim Duncan was in. Like, that was the deal. It was Tim Duncan, and then after that, so the number one pick mattered so much. I was like, who took a vote from him? Because they were on Inside the NBA, they were making fun of Shaq because he thought he was unanimous. And he wasn't, but Alonzo Mourning was taking votes, which, Alonzo Mourning's a Hall of Famer. He's a great player.
Yeah.
So that makes sense that there was another player there. But it was Keith Van Horn just spoiling it. Or the Spurs could have another one of those three guys.
Oh, yeah.
The three number one picks that were unanimous Rookie of the Years, because David was. So Keith Van Horn ruins that stat for us.
Yeah, that should have been. You're right. They should be able to brag about that stat. Yeah, because Keith Van Horn, I mean, there you go. I don't know how many votes he stole, but I don't know who. That must have been like some homerism vote.
Yeah, that was some Northeast people up there.
Yeah, exactly.
Actually, it was probably Celtics people that were pissed they didn't get Tim.
Now, you know what? I'm not mad about that, because I'm a Rockets fan. I'm still upset about them getting the number one overall pick for Wemby. So I still got a little angst about that. But I think Fanatics did this after he won Rookie of the Year. They did it's a great tribute. So essentially they bring him into this room where they have all of the jerseys of the great Rookie of the Year winners, and they have them all encased in, a really beautiful frame with lighting. And they have next to all the jerseys is a television screen. And next to all of those displays, a television screen, and they bring Wemby in. And essentially, there's a tribute to Wemby from all of the great rookie of the year, at least a lot of the great recent rookie of the year winners. It's kind of pretty emotional. I'm not even a damn Spurs fan.
I'll set this up because it's hard to tell. The beginning of it is these pictures start to talk.
Yes, that's why he's emotional. Because at first he thinks it's just going to be pictures. Yeah.
And he starts to throw off, but the pictures just start, and then the players actually come up and start talking to him. But at the beginning, he's just looking around and seeing mouse move on iconic like frames of NBA players doing things. But we can play the audio for you of what they're doing. Yes. Here we go.
Victor. Hey, Jason Kidd here.
Wait, what?
Vic, how you doing, man? This is Vince Carter here.
What's up,
hey, Victor? Man? Victor. Yo, what's up, Wemby? Yo, what's up, Vic?
That's crazy.
Yo, Vic, what up? I don't know a lot of French, but I know how to say bon.
Hey, that's so trippy. Are those recorded or?
Hey, Victor. Yo, what's up, Vic? Yo, Vic, what up? Hey, Vic, Shaq here. Hey, Victor, just wanted to say congratulations on a fantastic rookie season. Hell of a season. I'm very impressed at how you handled yourself this year. To watch you come in with all the hype and all the talk, you've lived up to it. High expectations. You've met all the expectations. Leading the league in block shots, chain shots. Man, you have set the bar so high. You've represented the Spurs. You've represented yourself. You've represented France, everybody. Even before you get into the league, I got a chance to see the type of work that you put in and day out.
Keep working, keep encouraging the teammates. The results will come.
Stay hungry, man. The great ones, they stay hungry and they want more. They're never satisfied.
Continue to work on your craft and be greater than you already are.
We're looking forward to seeing what you're doing in the next 15 years, man. Keep balling, the future's so bright. I know, without a doubt, you're going to have an unbelievable career. But I wish you let me get one of my middies off sooner or later over you, man. You will, when it's all said and done, be one of the greatest big men ever. Yo, what's up, Wemby? I want to say congratulations to you, man. Happy to have you part of this beautiful league, man. Keep doing you. Keep getting better. I want to say congratulations to you, man. Rookie of the Year. Welcome to that Rookie of the Year club.
I'm proud of you. You deserve every bit of it.
Great job. I couldn't be more proud of you, man. Well deserved. And this is just the beginning. Love, bro.
All right, ended with LeBron, obviously. You should have played that and Who Said That, because then you can go through all the voices. I recognize just off the bat, I recognize AI, Shaq, and LeBron are voices that's immediately stood out. The rest of them actually.
You didn't know David Robinson's voice?
David Rod, the Admiral. I should have known that.
Vince Carter's in there as well.
Vince Carter's in there. They should have. Tim Duncan didn't want to do it. Tim Duncan, was he in there? He didn't do it.
I didn't see. He may have been in there, and they just didn't use us.
I
don't know if they used everybody's or.
Tim was probably short. It's like, congrats, women.
Or this could be a Fanatics thing where Tim's like, I don't work for Fanatics. I'm not doing this.
Very true. You know what? This is probably exactly what it was. Actually, you probably all these guys probably have Fanatics ties. First of all, how was LeBron James not unanimous Rookie of the Year?
That was a really good draft class.
Damn,
that was a historically good draft class in 23 because that was with Carmelo Anthony, that was with Dwayne Wade, that was with Chris Bosh. Carmelo. So that one makes sense that he's not unanimous because it was such a good draft class. The reason I looked up Tim's is because I know it was a historically bad draft class.
Yeah. How does KD not win unanimous? Who was in KD's draft class?
KD's. I know that there was somebody else that was good. I know that he was the second pick because of Greg Oden.
Now you got me thinking about this because now it's actually interesting. Why didn't this guy win unanimous or this person win unanimous? Anyway, I know it's a good conversation there. Okay, so speaking of good conversations, I do want to get into this Wemby interview, so we'll play it later because I know we're going to run out of time. It's about 3 minutes, but it's really good. He spoke with the Inside the NBA guys about winning Rookie of the Year. So just to get into it, though, about Wemby a little bit and how amazing he has been. Wemby, first player in league history to reach 1,500 points, at least 700 rebounds, 250 assists, 250 blocks, and 100 3-pointers in the season. Led the league in blocks per game with 3.6. And I think he should win Defensive Player of the Year. I'm not sure. I'll admit it could be 50-50. Rudy Gobert can win it, or Wemby can win it. I can totally see them not giving it to not giving it to Wemby because he's a rookie, and I get that. And he already got his award, his accolade, and they probably want to, they don't want to give two guys one accolade. I mean, two guys they don't want to get one guy two accolades, I should say. So they want to probably divide that up between two guys. So Rudy Gobert probably will win it, even though I predicted that Wemby win it at the beginning of the year. I think he'll finish second in the Defensive Player of the Year voting. But I think I won't be the only one predicting that he'll win it next season. There's no doubt about it. He'll be the favorite.
He may. I think Defensive Player of the Year, the voters may have looked at last night's game too with Rudy Gobert not on the court and watched one of the best defensive performances you've seen all season and said, well, I know he's really good, but if you look, that's the main argument that Wemby fans can say all day long. If you put Wemby on the court with the Spurs, they're a top 5 defensive team. And if you take them off, they're a bottom 5 defensive team. Pretty much. If you take Rudy Gobert on or off the court, Minnesota's a top 5 defensive
still.
Yes.
Yep. No doubt. But yeah, too late. To change your vote now. But I agree with that. I think that's a great argument for why Wemby should have won it. But I can see them giving it to Rudy Gobert. Like I said, it's they probably don't want to give the young buck two of the postseason awards. So I totally get it. All right.
Throw that out for you. Who stole votes from KD? Al Horford actually had a good number of votes.
Al Horford stole some KD
Al Horford
votes.
And a 27-year-old Luis Scola.
Forget about Scola.
27-year-old Luis Scola got some first place votes.
Man, I forget all about that name. That I hadn't heard that in a long time. Luis Scola, as a Rockets fan, bringing that one back. All right, we come back. We got what the facts, what the stats. So we probably got some Wemby facts and stats to share with you as well. We'll got some what the facts on the other side coming back. This is the Rodcast featuring Patrick Davis on Lifetime Longhorn Rod Davis coming back on the horn. Hey, what's up, folks? Lifetime Longhorn Rod Davis here. Austin is a great city. Even with the traffic, it's still one of the best cities in the country and one of the fastest growing cities in America. And as our city continues to grow and thrive, well, so do our friends over at Ironworkers Local Union 482. Many of the iconic landmarks we love in this city were actually created and built by the skilled craftsmanship of Ironworkers Local Union 482, like the Pennybacker Bridge and DKR Stadium. The folks over at Ironworkers Local 482 don't just go to the office, they build it. So if you're thinking about an exciting employment opportunity, or maybe you want a refreshing career change, you can become a member of Ironworkers Local 482, and right now is the perfect time to do it. They're hiring over 3,000 people for a huge project they're building right here in Central Texas. They're offering competitive wages, competitive benefits, a pension plan. They even offer training for unskilled labor through their apprenticeship program. So become a member of Ironworkers Local 482 right now. It's the perfect time to do it. You'll be valued by this prestigious employer, and you can become a member of this prestigious organization and take pride in the type of teamwork and craftsmanship that help shape the future of our great city. So go online today and apply at ironworkers482.org. That's ironworkers482.org. All right, welcome back to the Rodcast. Let's get into what the facts, what the stats here. Okay, here's a stat for you. We got a bunch of random factoids that we can get for you. But how about this one? And if you are a betting man or a betting woman, I should say, you'll appreciate this factoid here. So the Wolves coach Chris Finch, who he might be a household name pretty soon, depending on how the T-Wolves finish this playoff run. He is now 14-6 against the spread in his very young playoff career. That's a 70% win rate. That's the second best against the spread win percentage with a minimum of at least 20 games for any coach in the last 20 years in the NBA. So throwing it out there. And you know what? This is a good bet. I don't know if I think Vegas might be wise to the Timberwolves not too. So I don't know if you'll get the value you once got with those kind of bets. But there you go. That is a factoid about the T-Wolves and their run. Really been, spectacular. And this is interesting. These playoffs, you've talked about it, Patrick. A new theme is the ascent of the new generation of stars in NBA and the old guard kind of fading. But also some of these teams haven't been relevant in a while.
No, and if we want to talk about coaching of new coaches, that Chris Finch is a guy who could be stepping up and has not been heard of.
Yeah, came out of nowhere, yeah.
Mark Daigneault, the coach of the Thunder. Not really a household name.
Not a household name. No,
even if you throw in Boston Celtics, Missoula, this is only his second year as a head coach.
Agreed.
So basically, either it's Tom Thibodeau or Jim Carrey over there in Indiana is gonna that'll be a coach who's been around a little bit longer.
No, that's interesting because you're right about the coaches too, and I think that goes kind of with the teams that have that they seem to now, after I don't know, maybe a decade or even longer of irrelevance, being relevant. The Knicks are in that category. Hell, and the Pacers are in that category.
Yeah.
Right. We haven't seen the Pacers be relevant in a really long time. The T-Wolves, we just talked about last time the T-Wolves had a big game at home like this in the playoffs, had to go back to like KG's time. It just feels like not only you're right about the stars, but maybe I feel like new teams are now.
Yeah, but that's part of it is these guys that they're drafted on their drafted team stepping up.
Stockpiling.
Now, Tyrese Halliburton's not. Tyrese Halliburton was actually drafted by the Kings and then sent over to the Pacers. But he falls into that category. Miles Turner's there. They traded for Pascal Siakam. If they had Benedict Mathurin, he would be a big part of that team as well. But they're a pretty, young team that's been put together. Jalen Brunson comes over to the Knicks as a young player. They put together that Villanova squad with Hart and DiVincenzo that all played together at Villanova. So they have that crew and that little young group there. And then, the Timberwolves have been coming up with Karl Anthony Towns. And they made that trade to try and get over the hump. They've kind of been in that picture, but they've been in that lower end of it, in that 4, 5, 6, 7 range. And remember, they had the playoff win where Pat Bev was celebrating, taking his shirt off in the play-in. And it was like, it's a play-in win, Pat. Calm down. They had that going for them, but then, but that was the whole Rudy Gobert trade. Was we think we're close, but we just need another piece in there. And they got crucified for year one, but that was because Karl Anthony Towns missed a lot of that year. Anthony Edwards wasn't what he was. And then now it seems to be working out just fine.
No, it's working out better than fine, especially being up 2-0 on the Denver Nuggets. Another quick fact before we get out of here: Big 12 championships so far in the 2023-2024 athletic season. Shout out to my man Kyle Umlang who threw this out there. Texas has 12 Big 12 championships in his last year in the Big 12.
Yeah.
How about this? The next closest team with Big 12 titles overall this athletic season, Oklahoma State with 4. Iowa State's got 2.
It's not Texas Tech.
Texas got 2.
It's not. They're not.
Texas got 2. Oklahoma's got 2. Oklahoma probably should be doing better than that. Honestly, Oklahoma's got better resources. So basically, Texas has as many Big 12 titles as the rest of the league combined. Then, because Oklahoma's got 4, Iowa State's got 2. Oklahoma's got 2. Texas Tech's got 2. BYU's got 1. U of H has 1. That's it.
And now we'll say it. We do have baseball that is coming down to the end.
Yes,
Oklahoma State, and Texas all kind of in that. I believe West Virginia is the third team or fourth team.
They need one because they got 0 Big 12 titles.
They're right now, so they could get in the Big 12 regular season. We also don't know what softball the Big 12 tournament title, where that one will go. That one will start this week. But yeah, baseball, they're in it. I believe they're 2 games back from Oklahoma right now. I think they're either game or 2 games back from Oklahoma in the Big 12. So Texas could take another one there if they really finish the season strong and get a little help there at the end of the season to try and catch up and win that Big 12 baseball title too. Just try and run away with it. But yeah, that's softball.
Yeah,
beating in a conference where I believe Oklahoma State's one of the best teams in the country. Oklahoma is the best team in the country, but now you have to say Texas is the best team in the country because they've been dominating at the end of the season. And to win in a conference that Oklahoma's dominated for years, to win, it was impressive.
I know. And it's like I said, Texas last year in the Big 12, man, they are making the most out of the farewell tour in the Big 12. So there you go. 12 Big 12 titles. Hopefully they can get a couple of more before they leave the Big 12 for the SEC. All right. There you go. What the facts, what the stats. We come back. We got more NBA talk. As a matter of fact, we'll see if we can get to this Wemby sound. Wemby had an interview with the Inside the NBA guys about his a unanimous Rookie of the Year selection. We'll get to that, but also start to preview the matchup tonight. Mavs got a big game coming up against OKC. We'll review some of the action we saw last night in the NBA. Oh, Patrick, there's an NBA report about at least an insider believes the Spurs may be interested in trading for this star. I want to get your thoughts about that.
We'll see it again. All right.
No. I don't know if you know about this one. Maybe you do.
Let's put it this way. I've heard about a lot of rumored stars that are coming to the Spurs.
All right. Well, you haven't brought this up. Maybe I'll surprise you with this. I probably won't because you're right. You keep up with it. Out of all the NBA action, you keep up with the Spurs more than anybody. So, we'll talk about it because I want to get your thoughts about it because I think it could be intriguing. At least a good discussion to have. So we'll talk about that on the other side. We got also behind the burnt orange curtain. We'll talk a little Texas football. We'll look at the transfer portal. They give it, then and take it away. We'll look at the departures and where they ended up. Talk about the latest acquisition for the Longhorns, Javion Cole, via the transfer portal, and also give a shout out to some lifetime Longhorns, legendary lifetime Longhorns, doing great things in our community. All of that and more right here on the Rodcast, featuring Patrick Davis. I'm lifetime Longhorn. Rod Babers coming back on the horn. Welcome back to the Rodcast featuring Patrick Davis. It is the musically themed day of the week is a top of the charts Tuesday, thanks to my man Patrick Davis, the Idealionaire. He comes up with the musically themed days of the week, and the top of the charts Tuesday is when he plays jams that reach the top of the Billboard charts on this day in history. And yeah, great jam right here, man. Hotel California, probably one of the most recognizable intros of all time.
Yes.
Right? Everybody instantly knows it.
And one of those bands I feel now gets a worse name than they deserve because they've been played for so long and they've just been on so much radio that people now hate the Eagles. And there's a theory that people hate the Eagles because of the Big Lebowski.
Why would that be?
In the Big Lebowski, he's like, they're the worst, most overrated band. I can't remember what the line is, but he has a line in it that's a line about the Eagles sucking. And after that, it became cool to hate the Eagles, like how it's cool to hate Nickelback or cool to hate all these. So it's just that that hive-minded, instead of everybody liking a thing, that like collectively everybody says, no, we've had enough of them. You're like, but they still have good tracks.
It became such a pop culture favorite in terms of the movie.
Like they still have some good tracks, and they got some, they're not great, but they're not terrible. They're not just enjoy the tracks you enjoy, and then don't enjoy the ones you don't.
Oh, that one. I mean, I don't know if that's considered the greatest Eagles song. It's my favorite Eagles song.
It's definitely up there as one of the best Eagles songs and one of the greatest Eagles songs.
Yes, no doubt. So there you go. We appreciate Patrick with the top of the charts Tuesday. Also, we appreciate Patrick for the big fat poll of the day, which also ends up creating a good conversation on the show. What is the topic for the big fat poll of the day?
Big fat poll of the day. We just posted up on X on the Horn at the Horn ATX. But what was your favorite 90s rivalry? We're thinking of it because the Pacers and Knicks renewing that rivalry last night. It was a lot of fun to watch that game, bring back the memories of that rivalry between the Pacers and the Knicks. So I thought, what other 90s rivalries were great? The Cowboys and 49ers, of course. Iconic rivalry of the 90s. Braves and Yankees were up there. Florida State and Miami. I'll put Sampras and Agassi on the poll because that was just a very, very much of the time made tennis a very popular sport between those two guys because you could pick a side. They were so different guys. It's we both put Tyson and Holyfield because it was a moment in time.
It was. You didn't get the balance to that rivalry because, as you pointed out, Holyfield won those, but in terms of the antics and the hijinks, I mean, it stands out.
And the taunts
we've never seen somebody chew off somebody's ear during a boxing match. Like, that's crazy. Like, I can't believe I was watching that live. That was crazy at the time. It's like, did he really just chew off that dude's ear? And yeah, sure enough.
You're like, I think is Mike Tyson's
complaint was he was headbutting him, I think, something like that.
Yeah, it was. Is Tyson actually crazy, or is this a character? Oh, he's actually crazy.
No, he's actually crazy. Yeah, that's what everybody knew. That's what I was like. Oh, he actually is crazy.
No.
Yeah, even with the prison stuff. No. It's like, no, that biting off the ear. No, that's crazy. That was a live event. You bit off another man's ear. Yeah, that's pretty crazy. So there you go. That could be. I'm going with the Cowboys 49ers, which I think is winning the poll right now. And it's not because of the Cowboys and the 49ers. It's more because of Deion's insertion into that rivalry and him being the swing factor, if you will. And who won that rivalry. Ultimately, if you won that rivalry between the 49ers and the Cowboys, you were going to go on to win the Super Bowl. There was a lot of incestuous, kind of movement within that rivalry. You had guys that played for both the 49ers and the Cowboys during that time period. But I remember that vividly. Deion going to the 49ers, winning Defensive Player of the Year, playing both sides of the ball. I used to love when Deion went up against Jerry Rice, and he teamed up with Jerry Rice. And then Deion would have these great rivalries going up against Michael Irvin when he was with the 49ers. And then the great rivalry when he got to the Cowboys of him going up against Jerry Rice and the 49ers.
Yeah.
Oh, it was just so many layers to that thing, man. To me, that was the height of prime time. And I was captivated by it. So to me, as a young man and a young boy who idolized Deion Sanders, that was it for me. That was it.
Yeah, and it was America's team being America's team at the time, and versus the 49ers you go from Steve Young and Joe Montana, and you have that whole controversy and that shift, and it's just so many great storylines throughout all of it. Keeping that rivalry, it's definitely. I'm not surprised it's leading the way. Not surprised.
Well, especially down in Texas, you're not surprised.
No.
But you have to balance too, though. That's what you said. You're
Yes.
right about true rivalry. It's gotta, both sides got to win some. You can't turn it a rivalry when the other side didn't win any. So I agree with you on that. That's why that's a good one.
So we say is like Texas rivalries. There's people that are like Texas is our number one rival, and we don't look at it that way.
No, I mean that's why the Texas A&M rivalry wasn't as sexy when Texas started winning more than their fair share. It was Texas started to dominate that rivalry, and it became more of a secondary rivalry to Oklahoma when we all know. I mean that one goes back and forth. Year after year, that seems to go back and forth, and those are the best rivalries when both sides can win their fair share of them. So I'm with you on that one. So there you go, best 90s sports rivalry for you. That is up on the Horn ATX Twitter account, or X account, I should say, and that's the big fat poll today. We'll get you some Horn headlines here momentarily, and then we'll come back, discuss some NBA. I want to play that Wemby interview. There's a Wemby interview we did with the Inside the NBA guys after winning Rookie of the Year. So I want to get to that. We'll get to that at one point, I promise you. But let's get to the Horn headlines first. Then we'll come back. Then we'll talk NBA. We'll get to reviewing the games last night and then previewing the NBA playoff games tonight. But first, Patrick, update, inform, and please educate us on the headlines of the day with the Horn headlines, please.
All right, your Horn headlines brought to you by Top Gun Rentals and Lawn Equipment. In the NBA, the Knicks were able to close out the Pacers 121-117 to take a 1-0 lead in the series behind the fourth straight 40-point game from Jalen Brunson, who becomes just the fourth player in NBA history to have 4 straight 40-point games in the playoffs. Meanwhile, the Nuggets are reeling after a 106-80 loss to the Timberwolves, falling down 2-0 in the series where defense led the way for Minnesota. Denver will now have to wait until Friday to try to get back on the right track, trying to become only the 6th team to ever lose their first 2 games at home and come back to win a 7-game series. Tonight, the other 2 second-round matchups begin with the Celtics taking on the Cavaliers and the Thunder facing the Mavericks. In other NBA news, Victor Wembanyama was named Rookie of the Year in a unanimous vote. Wemby becomes only the 6th player in league history to win the award by unanimous vote, and will now wait to see if he won Defensive Player of the Year. The award is set to be announced tonight. In Major League Baseball, the Astros will begin their series with the Yankees tonight, hoping to avenge being swept by New York earlier in the season. Justin Verlander will get the call for the Astros, and the Rangers took care of the A's in the first game of their series 4-2 after a 3-run home run from Corey Seager in the 8th inning. The Rangers have Jose Urena scheduled to make his first start of the season in what looks to be a bullpen game. You can catch pregame beginning at 2 p.m. right here on the Horn, and that is your Horn headlines.
Now, we told you guys that we're not going to give you a total synopsis and review of the Drake Kendrick Lamar beef until later on in the week, because honestly, too much stuff keeps happening, and they keep introducing new diss tracks every day. So we just got to wait till things simmer down and dissipate a little bit, and then we'll give you a synopsis. But I'm sure by now you're getting tidbits. The latest tidbit. And we had to pull a news clip to make sure we got it right here, because I didn't want this to be fake news. Apparently, there has been a shooting outside of Drake's house. I BS you not. Do we have the audio clip here for the people, Patrick? There's a bit of shooting. It's not Drake, by the way. Throw it out there. So it's not Drake. It's not Drake. But somebody has been shot outside of Drake's house. I have no idea what's going on. Patrick, please do us a service.
A large police presence outside of the home of Drake after reports of an overnight shooting in the area. Here's a live look at the scene now. This is outside of 21 Park Lane Circle in North York, well known to be the home of the Toronto-born rapper. Details are still very limited, but police have confirmed to City News that the person injured is not Drake. Officers responded to the shooting around 2 this morning. One person was rushed to hospital with serious injuries. No word on the identity of that person. A suspect fled in a vehicle, but no description is available at this point. Stay with us here on BT for the latest.
All right, there you go. That's the latest. Like I said, we will give you a synopsis of it later on in the week, but it's just tough because otherwise we'll be updating you every damn day on something new. So I'm just gonna because I thought it was gonna die down because the last diss track that Drake threw out there, he implied that he was done with it. He was like, This was a good exercise. Some of the language that he used and just the tone of it felt like he was done with it, like he was moving on
Yeah.
to other things. And a lot of people think that Kendrick Lamar might have landed the, kind of kill shot there with his last diss track that he threw out there. Not Like Us. Anyway, but this is a whole nother added element. We have no idea if this is even related to the beef going on or if this is separate going or something, but we hope that the person's okay because we're not trying to make light of somebody being seriously injured by, a gunshot. But yeah, just letting y'all know that we're going to wait till we can give you a more thorough synopsis of this thing because every day there's something new. There you go. That's the latest. Some parents have been shooting outside Drake's house. I'm hoping this is not related to the rap beef. Because then they've been saying that it's probably the biggest rap beef since Tupac and Biggie, and I'm praying that we don't get that. We're not getting that extreme. Let's just keep it to rap lyrics and keep it to diss tracks and keep it to throwing out random allegations about stuff with each other. That's cool, but man, we cannot get to the gunplay with it. That's we did not learn a lesson with the Tupac Biggie thing. We got to learn a lesson with that one. Come on now. In the end, nobody wants to lose Tupac and Biggie.
Nope.
All right. Now, no matter how much you dislike Drake, you don't want to lose Drake. He's good for he has a place in hip hop, and so does Kendrick Lamar. So let's not get crazy with this thing. Anyway, all right, let's get back to it. Yeah, I know. Let's get back to it. By the way, there is a hip hop related story coming up later on in this hour. One that is lighthearted and fun. And that'll be the news story that Snoop Dogg and Dr. Dre are going to sponsor the Arizona Bowl with their new, I think, premium cocktail, which is a gin and juice cocktail. And it is literally called gin and juice. And yes, ladies and gentlemen, gin and juice. I believe I will get you the exact phrasing of it because it is Snoop Dogg and gin and juice presents the Arizona Bowl by Dr. Dre and Snoop Dogg. Oh no, it's legit. It's the real thing. And we'll get into it and break it down because, oh man, that's the gift that just keeps on giving. And it's real. I thought it was a fake report at first, so I had to find it from other sources. Then I found it at Brett McMurphy. I found Ross Dellinger's story on it. So we found enough legit stories. And here is the actual tagline, like the actual bowl sponsorship name before we get back to the NBA. Snoop Dogg Arizona Bowl, presented by Gin and Juice by Dr. Dre and Snoop.
Oh, anytime you get your name in it twice. Anytime you get your name in it twice.
Oh, man. It's the Snoop Dogg Arizona Bowl presented by Gin and Juice by Dr. Dre and Snoop. Wow. I think it says by Dre and Snoop. It doesn't even put the doctor in there. So I put the doctor in there by Dre and Snoop, I guess. Don't you want to lose the doctor tag, Dre? Go keep the doctor tag in there. There you go. That is a real story. We will get back to it later. I promise you. Let's start off talking about, and we'll get to that Wemby interview as well. We're going to Behind the Burn Orange Curtain next segment, but I promise you we'll get to this Wemby interview. I just want to quickly, because we've reviewed the games from last night, talked about the Knicks and their win, 121-117. That matchup, though, something that we talked about, Patrick, yesterday, it truly did come down to, superstars in clutch time. Since a lot of these games are coming down to, can your superstars show up and can they take over the game when you need them to? And do you have someone, if it's not your superstar, it could be the superstar, it could be someone else. Do you have enough guys to step up in clutch time? That's essentially what that Knicks Pacers game came down to. Jalen Brunson, he's a star. 43 points. I mean, he's phenomenal. You threw out the stat that he's the fourth player in NBA history to have 4 straight 40-point games in a row. The other three guys are Jerry West, who had 6 consecutive 40-plus point games, so in the playoffs. Then Michael Jordan and Bernard King. So he's in rarefied air. But down the stretch, though, it was guys like DiVincenzo making clutch plays down the stretch, hitting that big three down the stretch. He's the one I think that he took the charge late in the game too.
Oh no, he was the one who sold the screen.
Yes,
he
took the offensive foul
on the Miles Turner screen, which is one of those really annoying things in the review process where you go, if you can, well, it's a call you don't call there. You just don't call
in that moment of the game.
Those plays happen 30 times a game, in every single game all season long.
Didn't the women's one of the women's like title game or the semifinal game have a call like that?
Yeah, they've had.
You remember that the moving screen?
Yeah, and but there's points in it where it's you see that in the problem with the review is you just want to go back and go, yeah, we blew the whistle too fast. Just reset it. We're sorry, we blew. So we saw it. We blew it too fast. We can tell DiVincenzo sold it really well. And when you go back to it, though, they go, it is a penalty. And you go, technically, but okay, well, then call it 30 times a game. Call it both ways, 30 times, foul out every center in every game because they're going to keep setting screens like that. And I get it. It's, it's just, you don't like to see it called there. There was also a steal that they missed in that. It's unfortunate because officiating it rears its head for, I believe, the third time for the Knicks in this postseason.
Yeah, it's becoming a topic. It shouldn't be a topic. Not with the way that not with how competitive the games are, and now with how Jalen Brunson's playing.
You just hate to see that it keeps coming back to these things. And yes, you have to play through the officials. You have to be able to win games, even in spite of that. There is no excuses at the end of the day. It's unfortunate as a fan to watch these games and see it come down to, shooting free throws there for Jalen Brunson, that he ends up shooting a few free throws and we don't get last second shots. We don't get the heroics at the end because of a couple calls.
No, you're right about that. I agree. And I always say I don't care how the refs call the plays, and I don't care how they make their calls and how they interpret the rules, as long as they're consistent.
Yeah.
And that's be your complaint. That's not consistent. It came out of nowhere, and the player's like, hey, I've been playing, this way the entire game, and now you decide to call it.
Yeah.
But yeah,
you also saw there was 4 challenges because they both won their first one. Then there was another one that was won because a ref called one on the far side of the court because the 2 other refs wouldn't call it. And so he made it, just a call, just guessed it and was way off. It was very obvious when you watch the replay, and you just want to get to the point of, okay, that should be a 2-second review. Just go look at it and go, oh, it's off his leg. None of us saw it, but don't make them use a challenge on it. And let's just move on with these. It was disappointing to see how many missed calls there were, how many things were blown at the end of the game. I get it. Refs are human. I'm not, it's disappointing.
No, I'm with you. That's a great point too. It seems like it's linked with the Knicks here, which is also not a good thing because they get a lot of headlines and people talk about the Knicks a ton, and with that Knicks media, with the New York media market. But yeah, Tyrese Halliburton, going back to our point about stars and clutch time, 6 points on 6 shots, 3 turnovers in that game. The Indiana Pacers probably could have won that game. They were up 9 with 10.5 minutes left. They were up 5 with about 4.5 minutes left. If they get some better clutch play from Tyrese Halliburton or just more consistent play, the Pacers steal that game.
Yeah, that's at the end of the day, the reality is if Tyrese Halliburton can just get going, and the problem is he's going the wrong direction now, which was at the beginning of the playoffs. He was still trying to shoot himself out of a slump. Now he's not even shooting the ball. He's trying to distribute somebody at 8 assists. You need to have more than that. And he's driving to the basket to try and, compact the defense and then kick the ball back out or kick it to a guy who's cutting. And that's great. But sometimes you just need to go hard at the basket, get up there, either get fouled or hit a layup. Do that a few times, get you up to 10, 15 points, just attacking the basket. And you'll watch as that shot will start trying to come back for him. He just has to be more aggressive offensively. And I know that doesn't mean shooting more threes. Being more aggressive offensively means getting high percentage shots and trying to hit those instead of trying to shoot yourself out of a slump from 3, because mentally it just starts to kill you more and more that you're so out of it. But if you look at your stat and go, I got 15 points, I'm 7 for 10 right now shooting. I'm doing just fine going and attacking the hoop and getting little mid-range jumpers and short-range jumpers, and I'm just sinking one after another. Now I can start to stretch that back out, and those threes start to fall a little bit more, and all of a sudden you're stepping it back up, because that's what Jalen Brunson did when he had 2 bad games. He just attacked, and he still does. You know why he gets so many points? Because he just kind of backs down guys and then takes a 6-foot jumper.
High percentage shots.
And, they'll just sit a center just far enough off so that, you can't really get a bunch of help defense over. But just little plays like that are helping out him get points and get easy buckets versus trying to do everything from the 3-point line, because his 3-pointers are not really falling at a high level either.
Yeah, no, Jalen Brunson's figured it out, whatever it is. And yeah, because I mean, he started the playoffs on a terrible kind of shooting slump. I believe he was shooting like around 30% from the field in those first 2 games, and he figured it out. And now is last 4 games scoring 40 plus points in 4 straight games. So yeah, the Knicks, I think the Knicks, I'm not saying they're lucky, but the Knicks pulled that one out. Pacers missed a golden opportunity to steal one there. We'll get into Rod's rant on the other side. We'll push Rod's rant sorry, not Rod's rant. We'll do the behind the burners curtain next segment. We'll get to that, and we'll play the Wemby interview in the 9 o'clock. All right, so we'll do that at 9 o'clock because we got to get to that Snoop Dogg story coming up in Off the Record. So coming up next, we'll talk Texas football. I'll give you some more notes that I have on Javion Cole, the young cornerback from San Jose State. We'll get to that coming up next segment. Also, the transfer portal, give it that and take it away. Texas got their 10th portal commitment, but now I believe in the last 2 portal cycles, you have 21 departures from Texas, and we'll talk about what that means. Attrition is now inevitable and is natural for every program with the transfer portal, but then different types of attrition, and they can mean different things for your program. We'll discuss that a little bit when we come back. All that and more right here on the Rodcast featuring Patrick Davis. I'm Lifetime Longhorn Rod Davis coming back on the horn. All right, welcome back to the Rodcast. Time to get into some Texas football conversation. Go behind the burnt orange curtain here. First of all, I want to give a shout out to a couple of gentlemen here, guys who I work with, who are also one's a former teammate of mine, and a really good guy too. But I want to congratulate these guys. First of all, Alex Okafor, lifetime Longhorn, who I work with. Shout out to my man Nick Shuley, who organized the Third and Longhorns podcast with us. But I do it with Alex Okafor, Derek Johnson, Jeremy Hills, Fozzie Whitaker. Those guys do a really good job, and I'd encourage you to go there, check it out. We talk Texas football and do a lot of interviews with former players and current players. It's good stuff. We always have a good time. But congrats to my man Alex Okafor, who was elected to represent the Pflugerville Board of Trustees, Pflugerville ISD Board of Trustees. That happened, I think, earlier this week. He's going to be sworn in May 16th. At a board meeting, but congrats to my man Alex Okafor, man, doing big things on the field. But I know he's someone who's passionate about that community. He's from Pflugerville, and this is someone trying to really commit himself to positive change in the community. So shout out to my man Alex Okafor, man, that's really big time. And shout out to Derek Johnson, legendary lifetime Longhorn, who is really committed to education. Even the Derek Johnson Foundation is all about childhood literacy, and it's a passion of his. He goes to libraries and schools to try to spread the good word about childhood literacy and promote childhood literacy. And he's done a great job, and it's a passion for him, and he works at it too. The man is dedicated to it, but because of his efforts, he is being honored, honor of sorts. The College of Education at the University of Texas is going to have Derek Johnson as the commencement speaker for the spring 2024 College of Education commencement. So there you go. Congrats to my man Derek Johnson. So those guys being honored for their leadership in the community as well. They should be. I always say this about Derek Johnson though, because I played with DJ, and DJ is one of the greatest defensive players in the history of Texas football, and is still, I believe, one of the all-time leading tackler, if I'm not mistaken, for the Kansas City Chiefs, and he's in whatever their Hall of Honor is. But I mean, he's at the NFL level, he's still pretty accomplished. Now he's not going to be a Hall of Famer, but he could have been. And I always say this: if Derek Johnson, go look at Derek Johnson's career, most of his accolades at the NFL level, his All-Pro, Pro Bowls, and all of his accolades, they were at the end of his career. He had already passed his prime as a player, and there's nothing against him, but he had already passed his prime, and he started winning the awards and getting accolades, Pro Bowls and All Pros in the NFL once the NFL became a spread league. Right, the NFL, when Derek Johnson first got there, it was still a 3 yards in a cloud of dust league. They were still running, 2 back sets, power sets. They hadn't become a spread league just yet. It became a spread league while he was there. And as it went from a 3 yards in a cloud of dust league to a 3-step drop league and became more of a spread league, he thrived because he was a spread baby. And I mean, he came of age in the Big 12 when the air raid took over the Big 12. The beauty of Derek Johnson's game is he could run like a defensive back. He could run sideline to sideline, hit you like a Mack truck. But it was his ability to adapt in space. He was amazing in space, right? His ability he was a havoc-minded player, so he could strip the football. He was great in coverage. Go look at all the interceptions he got as a player. He was great in zone coverage, great in man coverage. He was great sideline. So he was a space. He was almost like a pace and space defender. And he came out of, Texas high school football, where obviously you face spread teams in high school football, but that trickled up through the higher ranks, right? It started out, Andy Reid always says college is 5 years ahead of the NFL, and therefore high school is about 5 years ahead of college, because that's where they're experimenting with all these new concepts. And when the spread ideology and philosophy start to take over college football, I was there with DJ. I was in the Big 12 when Oklahoma won the national title running the air raid offense, and then Mike Leach went, and Mike Leach was at Tech and implementing the air raid there, and then the air raid pretty much took over. It terraformed the Big 12. And that's where Derek Johnson thrived. He thrived in that league where teams wanted to spread him out. But when he got to the NFL, they put him in a phone booth. Try to turn him into an inside linebacker. Like, man, we need to operate football, take on these guards and tackles. He's like, I'll do it. I can do it, but that's not really what I do really well. And then the league started to evolve while he was in the league, and it became a spread league. And he was back. And then toward the end of his career, he was back at home full circle where he was in the Big 12. He was like, hey, dude, I know all these concepts. This is easy. I defend this stuff all the time. I was doing this back when I was a freshman in Texas. And that's when he started to make Pro Bowls and all pros. The league caught up to him. And if he had gotten into the league like 5 years later, I think Derrick Johnson would have a Hall of Fame argument. He would.
Yeah.
He doesn't have one now just because of that. That's just my theory. I tell him that theory too, by the way. I told him that to his face and he agrees. I was aggressive when I told him. He was like, yeah. You can tell he was like, you're really passionate about this. Like, I thought it through. I thought it through for you. I actually recruited Derrick Johnson to the University of Texas on this recruiting visit. So I've been passionate about DJ for a while. I remember Mac Brown told me, listen, we're not going to win a national title if you don't get this dude. So if you can't get him, let us know because I'll put somebody on him who can guarantee that they can close the deal. And I was like, I'll close the deal. You just don't ask me how I closed the deal. Don't ask me the details of what we did and how. Don't you. If you don't ask me no questions, Coach, I will close that deal. And I did. I was a closer, man. ABC, baby. Always be closing. Okay, let's talk about the transfer portal. Give it and take it away. And at this point now, with the spring transfer portal closing, based on the two transfer portal windows we've had, the winter and the spring one, that's 21 total transfer portal departures from the University of Texas. And I like to keep up with the departures. I do. I think it is an interesting way to really look at the health of a roster. And I know you say, well, guys leaving, how's that healthy? Well, it is healthy, actually. It's because it depends on the type. Everybody's got attrition now. Everybody's going to have attrition. It depends on the type of attrition that you have, right? And if you are losing players, like out of those 21 players Texas lost, I believe they lost 2 starters, Terrence Brooks and Jerry Thompson, in the secondary. And they lost a lot of contributors and role players. Not a lot. They lost 4 probably contributors, role players, guys who actually gave them important reps, in-game reps. And that's guys like, Savion Red was one of those guys, and Keaton Crawford was another one of those guys that, transferred and gave you quality reps. Malik Murphy was another one of those guys that transferred, gave you quality reps. Trill Carter gave you quality reps as a player. So you probably lost 6 guys that were either starters and or contributors who gave you quality reps outside of just special teams. And I like to look at where these guys, and so that's by the way, that's a good sign of attrition. That's good attrition. I would say it's like good cholesterol, a good fat, right? There is a good such thing as attrition. That's good attrition because you're not losing stars. The only starter that left that is a bit confusing, a bit bewildering is and made a bit of a mystery is Terrence Brooks. The rest of them make total sense because you're churning out the bottom of that roster and those guys don't have a path to play. So they're looking to go elsewhere for a path to play. So I like to keep up with not only how the guys that are leaving and in what circumstance, right, that they're leaving. Are they a starter that's leaving or a contributor, or there's a guy that can't play and hadn't seen the field. And once they do leave, where are they going? And what do they do as a player? How do they contribute to the next team, right? And the next team they go to, are they a starter there? Are they a contributor there? Do they just go there and sit on the bench pretty much? Because I think that also is a way to judge the health of your overall roster. Like take Texas, right? 21 total transfer portal departures in the last 2 cycles. 2 of those are going to be starters. Like I said, there was one that's a bit confusing. That's the Terrence Brooks one. But the rest of them is just Texas upgrading at that position. Upgrade at safety with Makuba. A young Derek Williams getting more of those reps at safety than Jerry Thompson. So I just think he saw the writing on the wall and decided, hey, man, I got to go somewhere where I can guarantee I'm going to play. Based on the rotations here in the movement, I am playing less. I'm seeing fewer and fewer of those reps, even though he was a guy that started off the year as a starter for you. And so you're losing 1 or 2 starters. That's not, in my opinion, anything to be concerned about. But I think that it's a healthy amount of attrition for Texas because you're not losing starters. You're losing guys who provided depth, and those are guys who have been essentially churned off the roster because Sark's trying to upgrade the depth on the roster, whether that be through traditional recruiting or that's via the transfer portal. And those guys don't have a path to play. Now, how many of those guys actually end up at Power 5 universities? How many of those guys end up competing on the same level that Texas is on? I have 7 of those guys that are going to be Power 5. And in the last 2 transfer portal windows, 7 of those guys that are going to be Power 5 players. Now, you do have 5 that are undecided. They have not decided where they're going. That's Austin Jordan, that's Savion Red, that's Samaje Burrell, that's Terrence Brooks, and Christopher Ross from that previous winter window. But the guys who are going to Power 5 schools, Colorado gets Peyton Kirkland, Zach Swanson, along with Jamon Tapp. They're going to Arizona State. Malik Murphy going to Duke. Isaiah Nayor going to Nebraska. Trill Carter going to Auburn. That's a good pickup by them. And you go look at also Jaren Thompson going to Auburn too. So those are your 7 players to go. So basically a third of your departures are going to Power 5 schools. I'd love to see where they end up on those rosters, or they end up as starters. And to me, that's the ultimate compliment to you as a coach when you are having positive signs of attrition, like Texas is, right? 21 departures, only 2 of those guys are starters, 4 other contributors, and that's mostly because you've upgraded your roster and those guys don't have a path to play. But then when they get to another school, are they coveted number 1 in that process by other Power 5 universities? That's a compliment to you. It's like somebody hitting on your wife or telling you how hot your wife is. Hey, it's a compliment. You should be happy about that, right? Other schools, they want what you have. And when they get to those other schools, where are they on that depth chart? Are they playing? Are they starting? And I look at that too. So it's almost like 3-year process. You got to look at these guys, their entire length of their eligibility, to really find out the entire story about the health of your roster. And it looks really good for Texas when you have guys like a Malik Murphy who may end up starting at Duke, or you have Hudson Card who left, a year or so ago, and he ended up starting at Purdue. You want those guys to go start it on the universities. And I always say this to people: you should not cyber stalk your exes, because that is creepy and that's wrong. So don't cyber stalk anybody. But you should check up on your exes, and most people do. Right? There's a recent Western University study found that basically 88% of people on Facebook check up on their exes on Facebook, right? And I'm sure on other forms of social media that's the case too. So you should check up on your exes, but don't cyber stalk them. And this is kind of checking up on your exes. And for what I always said, I wanted my exes to be doing well, because it shows that I have good taste. Shows that I know how to select them. If my ex if she's in jail for stabbing her current partner, all right, or my ex is doing real bad, right? That's a reflection on me. Man, Robbie, you don't know how to pick them. But if my ex is a Fortune 500 CFO and she's got a beautiful, gorgeous family and her husband, some doctor, I take a little credit for that. That's just me. I'm like, hey, Robbie, influence, man. You know what? She used her time with me constructively, and she learned something from it. And a lot of times, you know how that is. You know, there are certain things within your personality that change after a certain relationship, right? You realize, like, oh, you know what? I'm a little controlling, or I am a little jealous, or I'm this. And you take that lesson to your next relationship. So I take a little credit. I'm like, no, she learned some things in that relationship with me. So you know what? I'll take credit. I'm happy that she's happy. And Longhorn fans should feel the same way about following their transfer portal departures. You should root for them to succeed, because that reflects, if your program is doing well and Texas is doing well, because that reflects, in my opinion, positively on your roster, on the health of your roster. And that's part of the healthy attrition cycle. So yes, you want to check on your exes. You don't want to cyber stalk them. And when you check on them, you want to root for them. Anybody checking on your exes and hoping they're doing bad, that ain't good. No, you want to hope that they're thriving, that they're healthy, and that they got a beautiful family and their career is going well. Because to me, that's, if I'm doing well, like Texas is doing well, I'm happy they're happy. Now, if your life sucks, of course, you're checking on your exes and you're upset about how great they're doing. Same thing with Longhorns. The Longhorns program right now was in the tank, all right, and the Texas football program wasn't at one of the peaks that we see it at right now. The Longhorn fans will look at that attrition as bad. Oh, man, 21 guys leaving. Oh, man, that's bad if those guys go to other universities and contribute and play for them. It's bad. So it's all about your state and where you are mentally and your attitude and self-reflecting on your own happiness. If you're happy, you can check on your ex and be happy that they're thriving and they're successful. But if you're unhappy, and your program sucks, you're probably going to be pissed off about those departures and those guys contributing to other programs. So Texas right now doing really well. The attrition is positive attrition, and you have like a third of those guys. I think you're at 9 guys go to Group of 5 schools. So you got basically 3/4 or 2/3 of that group that are going to Power 5 or Group of 5 schools. And the rest of those undecideds, I'm sure at least half of those guys going to Group of 5. So that reflects really positively on your health of your roster. And then ultimately, 2 or 3 years, we'll see if they contribute or started for the schools they go to. If that is the case and Texas is still winning, man, like I said, that ultimately is the cycle of attrition that you want at Texas. If they indeed end up playing and starting at another university for you, not for you, but for themselves, and Texas still winning games and still upgrading the roster and still putting guys in the NFL, to me, that's kind of where Bama was. That's where your Georgias are. That's where your Michigans are, your Ohio States. That's where their roster is. And I think Texas has the ability to get there too. All right, there you go. A little transfer portal discussion. We come back. Yep, we'll talk about it. The Snoop Dogg Arizona Bowl presented by Gin and Juice by Dre and Snoop. I believe I got it right. When we come back right here on the Rodcast featuring Patrick Davis on Lifetime Longhorn. Rod Davis coming back on the horn. All right, welcome back to the Rodcast featuring Patrick Davis on Lifetime Longhorn Rod Davis. Time to get to off the record here. And we got to talk about the Snoop Dogg Arizona Bowl. That's right, ladies and gentlemen, the Snoop Dogg Arizona Bowl. It is a real thing. Well, matter of fact, we have audio. Shout out to my man CB, who does a great job sending us stuff throughout the day. And CB sent us his audio of Snoop announcing his new bowl sponsorship. Say Chris GB 002000. Chris GB 002000. You want to follow my man CB's worth a follow. But here is Snoop Dogg announcing to the world that he is getting into the bowl sponsorship business.
College football fans are exhausted by the constant talk around NIL, conference realignment, coach movement, transfer portal, and super conferences. So it's time that we get back to the roots of college football, when it was focused on the colleges, the players, the competition, the community, the fan experience, and the pageantry. Being a fan, coach, supporter of all levels of the game, I sent many players through my SYFL to colleges and the NFL. So it's only fitting that I step up and help get this thing right. I'm ready to bring the juice back to college football. And I'm taking my talents. That's right. To Arizona. Believe me, Arizona, baby. I'm here to announce the new collaboration, the Snoop Dogg Arizona Bowl. Presented by Gin and Juice by Dre and Snoop. The game will be played on December 28th at the University of Arizona Stadium in Tucson, Arizona. I'll be there. Will you be there? Well, guess what? We'll see you there.
Wow, so they got a theme song already. I mean, you literally got a built-in theme song. Do they have to remake it, or could they don't have a PG-13 version of the?
Yeah, you're gonna have to make it a little bit more.
You gotta
PG,
remake a PG-13 version of it. Okay, so that's built in. But
and
I gotta
ladies
tell you,
be waiting till 6 a.m.
what are the bowl gifts are gonna be for this? I think they're gonna be awesome. They're gonna be cheesy as hell. They're gonna be great. What are the bowl gifts for the Snoop Dogg Arizona Bowl presented by Gin and Juice, by Dr. Dre and Snoop? Oh man, that could be a great question right there. What will be the bowl gifts? I mean, it won't be chronic. They're not giving away. Trust me, in Arizona, they definitely ain't doing it. They ain't giving them marijuana there, but it could be something cool.
No, I mean, are they still get some Beats by Dre out?
Oh, they definitely gonna get Beats by Dre. Damn, it's good. And would Dre and Snoop be at the? I'm assuming they got to be at the game.
Well, Snoop said he'd be there.
Will Dre ain't gonna be at the game? Come on, Dre,
know.
you got to show up at the game, Dre. You got to show up at the game. Okay, now I don't know the bow tie. I don't know like what conference.
Well, we don't know all
to.
the bow ties now because the Pac-12's gone.
That's true.
So bow ties may have changed for a lot of things.
That's a great point, Patrick. I didn't even think about that. I don't even know how that works and who decides.
Because
that.
now you say more got to go to all these other conferences because now the Big Ten added a bunch, and the Big 12 added a few, and the SEC added Oklahoma and Texas, and the ACC added a few teams too. So now you guys got to kind of re-divvy up the bowls a little bit.
Yeah, and it didn't say in the article like what their bow tie, because maybe like you said, they don't even know what it is right now. I'll just say this: I am praying that somehow Colorado makes a bowl game and ends up in this bowl game. That Deion Sanders prime time ends up in this bowl game. Wouldn't that be amazing? That'd be great. We talked about that on Texas football the other day. That would be amazing because then Deion has his own. He has a hip hop album. All right, he's a hip hop artist technically back in the day, and I imagine him and Snoop, Dre, they might cut a little little promo, little promotional song or something.
What if you get a USC in there with Colorado?
Oh, yeah, I would like that too. Then you got the Southern California thing happening. That would also be, that'd be sexy. Yeah, that'd be, oh man, that'd be really sexy actually. I would say I think Deion might perform at halftime if he's in this bowl. If it's Snoop perform with him, Deion might perform at halftime.
He might come out and do one of his songs.
Yeah, he might come out and do a little "Must Be the Money." It's possible.
I mean, we do know it's going to be his last game as a coach of Colorado.
Yeah, because Shadur's leaving, and when
Shadur's gone, he's out. So yeah,
he might be leaving too. Who knows? So and then how about this? My man CJ brought this up on Texas Football. I thought it was an interesting point too, and it's valid. Okay, so now they used to do Gatorade Bass when the coach wins, And for these bowl sponsors, like they did the mayo bath for like the mayo bowl, and they've been doing like the Cheeto bowl. They'll throw Cheetos on the coaches. Are we going to get gin and juice, the premium cocktail, thrown on the winning coach? Is that something we're going to get? That's been the running theme. Is whatever the bowl sponsorship is, we dump that on the coach.
I just want them to, instead of like having, like Gatorades or whatever else in the bottles, they all just have solo cups. They just got the cups.
Gin and juice, baby.
They all just sipping on cups on the sideline.
Can we agree that gin and juice was disgusting, though? Do you remember drinking gin and juice?
Yeah, there's no way this tastes good, right?
Juice. Did anybody like this? This is the power of marketing and promotion, people. They made a hit song. It probably could be on top of the charts Tuesday. They made a hit song about a drink that once most people drank, it was like, this is disgusting. This is not good. And people kept drinking because they thought it was cool.
Gin is a drink that like only people who want to be in Sex and the City drink gin. It's not a drink that is a popular drink for a lot of people. And
who's ordering gin?
But like, I get gin and juice because it was like, well, that's the drink we can get. We can get gin because there's just leftover gin because no one's drinking.
Nobody's drinking it. What are you getting your parents? Why are you breaking your parents' liquor cabinet? What's left there? Gin. All right, let's go. Let's make some concoction. Yeah, I mean, I never knew anybody who was actually into it. We drink because we thought it was cool. And I said, but that's one of the things. We were just talking about hip hop a lot on the show. One of the beautiful things about hip hop and why it kind of become a really popular genre, one of the most popular genres of music, if not the most popular, and it did it in 50 years. So in terms of how fast it became the most popular genre of music, or one of the most popular genre of music, that is something that's probably been unprecedented. It's it really did take things over quickly. I think one of the reasons that advertisers like it and big corporations like it is because rap is one of the only genres where they actually promote stuff and they mention it by name. They don't do that in a lot of them. They they imply and hint at stuff. They don't mention brand names in other genres of music. In hip hop, they would go past the Cavassier, in my Air Force Ones, gin and juice. And they have you make it. I mean, it's one of those. I mean, they have a song with Drake called Versace. Yes,
Adidas.
exactly. They actually will name the brand, and the brand won't even pay them for it. Actually, they just named it because it's a cool brand. And then later on, they've actually done studies about the market, and the market will respond, and they'll sell more Air Force Ones, and they'll sell more Adidas, and they'll sell more of whatever they're talking about. The Cavassier is crazy, it's wild, and that's why corporations love hip hop. It ain't really about how it's influencing. They love it because it influences young people to buy stuff, because they actually mention brands. It's one of the only genres that does that. Like, I can't even, this is another genre. It's like, hey, what about Versace? They make a whole song, and it's all they say. The whole damn song, Versace. And Versace's like, I didn't pay him for that. You paid him? We can sue him for that. Can we give him a cease and desist? No, don't do that, because that's free advertising. It's free marketing. They can send him a cease and desist probably. Like, hey, man, don't put that in the song. They never do. Hell no. Mention that. Throw it out there. It can be a song. It can be a song mentioning that brand, saying the most derogatory, disgusting, filthy things throughout the rest of the song, and they care. They don't care at all. Like, no, we don't care about that. They mention that song. It's a hit song. Good job. It's amazing. I love it. But that's part of the reason that hip hop has become kind of more mainstream, is because of that fact. And also, I'll throw this out there too, since we're talking about it's one of the only genres that really is considered kind of a competitive sport, where the artists compete. And artists compete in other genres, but they don't openly do it. They don't openly do it and go after each other. And, I mean, they do it in pop, and they're competing with each other, but they don't openly say, I'm competing against this other artist, and I don't like them. I want to make a song about how I don't like them, and they suck. Like, they don't do that in other genres of music, but hip hop, they will literally make a whole song about, I hate this person.
They tried to do it. Some bands tried to do it in the 90s, I think, when battle rap and everything started to get really big. I think some bands tried to do it, and fans were just like, this is not what no one's tuning in. This is not what we want.
This is not our genre. But hip hop is like a competitive sport. It is it's very, very competitive in that respect. So I like that about it too. All right. Anyway, random musical conversation there. We get into those types of conversations on the show. But there you go. That's Snoop Dogg. And his new bowl sponsorship. I can't wait to see what the bowl gifts are going to be. And are they going to give the winning coach a bath instead of a Gatorade bath, a gin and juice cocktail bath? That would be interesting.
I want to see if the announcers are going to get drunk the whole show.
Will Snoop be one of the announcers?
Oh, It's like Snoop and Kevin Hart announcing the game.
Yeah, Snoop's got it because he's done that, right? With some MMA.
No, him
events
and Kevin Hart were doing the Olympic coverage, right?
Oh, I think you're right about that. Oh, I think he's doing something with. I don't know exactly what he was doing because I didn't look at it. I'm not gonna lie to you, but I thought he was doing something like NBC. Okay, now I gotta check this out. Now you got me interested. Oh, will Snoop do the color? Will he be the color analyst for the Gin and Juice Bowl? That would be great. That would make it a hit. Honestly, the ratings would be through the roof. If Snoop did it, they'd be through the roof. I think, man, honestly, I think you got to do it now. All right, there you go. Talking a lot about Snoop Dogg and his bowl sponsorship of the Arizona Bowl. All right, we come back. We got NBA on the other side. I promise we'll play that Wemby sound. The first thing we'll do, I want to play the audio of Wemby talking to the Inside the NBA guys about his unprecedented, unanimous Rookie of the Year campaign for the NBA. We'll get into that. We'll also get Rod's rant of the day out of the way. That's Cowboys related. And then we'll jump into some of the other big topics. Preview the matchup tonight, a big matchup for the Mavs versus the OKC Thunder. All that and more right here on the Rodcast featuring Patrick Davis. I'm Lifetime Longhorn Rod Davis coming back on the horn. All right, welcome back to the Rodcast featuring Patrick Davis. I'm Lifetime Longhorn Rod Davis. Got a lot I want to get into here. Before we get to the Horn headlines, we'll talk about the big fat poll today. Give you one more opportunity to contribute to that conversation. It is a top of the charts Tuesday. That's when Patrick, the Idillionaire, plays jams that reached the top of the Billboard charts on this day in history, one of my favorite musically themed days of the week. So I want to thank Patrick for all that he does on the show. We appreciate that. Also, Patrick is the creator of the Big Fat Poll of the Day. Patrick, let people know what the topic is for the Big Fat Poll of the Day. By the way, you can go check that out at the Horn ATX in the Twitterverse as well.
Big Fat Poll of the Day today, because we were watching Pacers and Knicks last night and remembering the great 90s rivalry of Pacers and Knicks. What was your favorite 90s rivalry? Rivalries that they're iconic, that you just think of the 90s when you think of them. Cowboys 49ers, I believe, are running away with it right now, which is not surprising.
Yeah. No, I can see that. I mean, especially obviously our audience. But like I said, for me, it was that too, but it's not for the same reasons I think Cowboys fans may be picking that rivalry. For me, it's about Dion. And like I said, the infusion of Dion in that rivalry was such a swing factor. And he was the cool factor with him was through the roof. But he became the ultimate swing factor in arguably the biggest rivalry in sports at the time. Definitely the biggest rivalry in the NFL at the time. So, I like that. Cowboys fans, I'm sure, represented well in that poll. So go check it out at the Horn ATX. We'll get to the Horn headlines here in just a second. Then after that, we'll play that Wemby interview. Wemby winning Rookie of the Year, a unanimous Rookie of the Year award for the San Antonio Spurs. I believe he's the sixth player to win a unanimous Rookie of the Year award. And today he'll wait to see if he can win Defensive Player of the Year as well. I think he'll at least finish second if he doesn't win it, which is still quite an accomplishment for a rookie. Before we get to those stories, Patrick, please do us a favor and educate us, inform us, and update us with the big headlines of the day with the Horn headlines, please.
All right, your Horn headlines brought to you by Top Gun Rentals and Lawn Equipment. In the NBA, the Knicks were able to close out the Pacers 121-117 to take a 1-0 lead in the series behind the fourth straight 40-point game from Jalen Brunson, who becomes just the fourth player in NBA history to have four straight 40-point games in the playoffs. Meanwhile, the Nuggets are reeling after a 106-80 loss to the Timberwolves, falling down 2-0 in the series, where defense led the way for Minnesota. Denver will now have to wait until Friday to try and get back on the right track, trying to become only the sixth team to ever lose their first two games at home and come back to win a 7-game series. Tonight, the other two second-round matchups begin with the Celtics taking on the Cavaliers and the Thunder facing the Mavericks. In other NBA news, Victor Wembanyama was named the Rookie of the Year in a unanimous vote. Wemby becomes only the sixth player in league history to win the award by unanimous vote, and will now wait to see if he wins the Defensive Player of the Year award that is set to be announced tonight. In Major League Baseball, the Astros will begin their series with the Yankees tonight, hoping to avenge being swept by New York earlier this season. Justin Verlander will get the call for the Astros, who have struggled all season. The Rangers took care of the A's in the first game of the series 4-2 after a 3-run home run from Corey Seager in the eighth inning. The Rangers have Jose Urena scheduled to make his first start of the season in what looks to be a bullpen game. You can catch pregame beginning at 2 p.m. right here on the Horn, and that is your Horn headlines.
All right, Patrick, thank you for the Horn headlines. All right, you just talked about Wemby winning the Rookie of the Year and unanimous selection for Rookie of the Year. The other, you also mentioned he'd be the sixth player to do so in NBA history. The other five players are Ralph Sampson, David Robinson, the Admiral, Blake Griffin, Damian Lillard, and Karl Anthony Towns are the other five winners to win the award unanimously. And you brought up some of the other but should have been David Robinson, obviously in that category, but should have been Tim Duncan too. You said that it was stolen from him, his Rookie of the Year award, pretty much.
Well, the unanimous.
Stolen.
The unanimous.
Yes, unanimous.
He should have been unanimous. Because he
yes.
got it. I believe it was 3 votes went to Keith Van Horn. I believe 3 votes went to Keith Van Horn. So,
okay.
But yeah, Keith Van Horn, I have to go look at the actual stats to see that, but it does not feel like Keith Van Horn deserved any against Tim Duncan. I mean, maybe that's just me being a homer and how I remember that going. But that was, when you look at it, there are certain draft classes that are historically not great draft classes. That was one that one of the biggest reasons why it was so big that the Spurs won it, not only that you got Tim Duncan, was that the second and third pick and everything else, basically no one thought those guys were going to be anything. So you knew you were getting the first pick was a generational talent, and then everything else was kind of falling down around it. So that's why that draft was a little bit more skewed. So that one was why I was so curious why Tim was not on that list. That robs another fun stat of the Spurs having 3 number 1 picks that all have done these certain things.
That all unanimous Rookie of the Year award winners. Is it always 99 votes?
No, the voting changes of how many people are around.
Yeah.
So
yeah, because it was for Wemby, all 99 first place votes from the media panel were for Wemby. Chet Holmgren finished second. Brandon Miller of Charlotte finished third. So that's pretty much the voting, but Wemby ran away with it, which we all thought that would be the case. Let's hear this interview because Inside the NBA got a chance to sit down with Wemby after he wins Rookie of the Year award and after averaging 21, 10, and almost 3.9 assists per game, but led the NBA with 3.6 blocks per game. So Wemby, it's hard to say that he exceeded expectations. I think he probably did. Expectations were sky high because it's hard for anybody to even meet those. But I think he did. And even I think I was left thinking to myself, okay, so how many championships are going to win with this dude? And I probably wasn't the only one. But here's his interview with the Inside the NBA guys talking about winning a unanimous Rookie of the Year award.
Hey, tell me this, given all of the hype, given all the anticipation, how much did you think about this and how important was it to you to end this season as the Rookie of the Year?
My goals were always to help my team as best as I could and get better as the year went on. And I knew that in order to do this, I had to be individually good on the court, and dominant. So it was a huge thing for me and a big thing to get. So it's always been really important, and I'm glad it's finally official.
Sebone, now that you have some time off, what are you going to work on this summer to even better your game? Because I know that you're not satisfied. I know you got Rookie of the Year, but I know you're not satisfied with how your team ended up. So what are you going to work on this summer to even better your game?
First of all, thank you, Shaka, for not messing up my name. I think you do. So it's not the case for everyone, so thank you. And there's plenty of stuff I plan on working on. Physically, of course, the work is never going to be done. So I've had my plan for months, ready for all of my body, and we're going to keep discovering new ways to get better and to work on my body. And for basketball, there's a lot I want to work on. There's a lot Pop wants me to work on, and the coaches. So I'm excited. But a big thing I can tell you is already, working on my balance and the use of my strength, and learning to know even my body better in the space.
Obviously growing up in France, your family's this is probably the most time you've ever spent in America. How did your family and you personally and your family love living in America?
As an athlete, it's with no contest, the best country in the world. And, for an athlete, it's the culture, everything, the infrastructures, everything is just made for us to be, to thrive. So I'm really in the bubble, I know it's, I know I'm living a very privileged life, as an NBA player. And there's a lot of people taking care of me every day, even when I don't notice it, So this award is also on them, all of these people played a big role. And America is really, the only place where things like that are possible. And for my family, I think they've adapted pretty well, and they've done a good job not being overwhelmed by all this. And but yeah, the first thing is I'm their son, and I'm their son, their brother, and they're still my parents, my siblings. So I'm glad we can keep living like this, like before.
All right, there you go. Little Wemby for you, his sit-down interview with Inside the NBA. I heard him say, it was on, it was a different podcast. I wish I could give them credit right now, but he said, and we played on the show, that he was going to steal one of Kevin Durant's move for the offseason.
Yeah.
And maybe he doesn't want to keep saying that because he didn't want people to know exactly what he's going to add to the repertoire. But I heard him talking about what he's going to add to his game. And this is something also we talked about, his pull-up three-pointers. If you go look up the stat, now I have to pull it up, no pun intended, later on next week, because I know it's somewhere, because I had it a couple of months ago and I kept up with it. But his pull-up three-pointer stats, like he's one of the best pull-up three-point shooters.
Yeah, in step-back three-point shooters, yeah.
In step-back three-point. It's like, how the hell is that possible when you are the size of Wemby? In terms of him adding to his game, I don't even know if there's a limit of the stuff that he could add to his game. Big man like that with handles, with that.
Well, and that's the thing is it's now just kind of trying to add moves in, trying to add in things that you feel can, you can use in games when all right, in this moment, this is how I was being, how they were used against me, and they used this against me, and they used this against me. How do I find out ways to move around that? Like in that, he mentions balance.
Yep.
And balance, it's important offensively because you can get there, but I think he has pretty good offensive balance. I think defensively, that balance of using your weight a little bit better when guys like Embiid are kind of bumping on you, and then they can get you to move one way, and you're now so out of position that they know how to flip you around and just kind of push you out of the way and get a bucket up the way they want, and you're not able to do the thing that Wembanyama's been able to do all season, which is just contest shots by putting his hands straight up and making it, even if a guy backs him down, he's still pretty much in between them and the basket and making a really hard shot. He's been able to do that well all season, but some of these guys can get him off balance a little bit more. So I think that when you talk about that, of using his strength differently, using his weight differently, and balancing differently defensively, where we know he is a finalist for Defensive Player of the Year, but he knows there was a couple games that he'd love to have back defensively because guys just went straight at him and used their size and their strength against him. So that's a piece you want to work at. But yeah, the Kevin Durant stuff where he's talking about, instead of going full speed all the time and trying to say that you're the quickest guy, being able to change pace and really throw guys off so that you can get them off balance defensively. Those are the types of things that are just kind of keep adding stuff, work more on having both hands where you can go both ways. You can pass with both hands. You can do everything both hands. Those types of things are just, you constantly keep working on and trying to get better. And it's, and the best part is somebody will always bring something new and you'll play against somebody and they'll do a move. And then that offseason you go, that thing they beat me with, I'm going to do it. I'm going to do it better than they do it.
I know. They have the IQ to be able to just steal people's stuff like that. And have the, the athletic intelligence to go, oh, I can do that. I think a lot of guys do that around the league, but I think it does show a tremendous amount of IQ.
Well, and that was like a great example I always remember was when the Suns and the Spurs were playing all the time. It was Nash on the Suns and Tony Parker for the Spurs. So Nash had a move that he would do all the time where he would run underneath the basket with the ball. And normally when a guy does that, they're running to the other 3-point line or they're passing the ball out or whatever. And he would do it and then make a quick cut back to the basket. And he would either get wide open and hit a little shot, or he would shake your guy off and get the help defense would come over and he'd get a pass. Mm-hmm. But he would do this little like circle around move underneath the basket. And he did it for a year. And then next year it was in Tony Parker's moveset. And Tony Parker started doing that move because he goes, that move was great. And it was beating me with it. So over the offseason, he learned how to do it and learned the timing of it and everything else you have to do with that move. So those kind of things. There's weird screens you set in pick and roll games where there's a whole thing now where they're trying to preach this stuff about setting screens and then basically backing off them at the last second where you create space between two guys. So instead of actually setting a screen, you basically you let your defender come off of you like you're going to switch, and then you don't set the screen. So both defenders go with the one guy, and you come off, bounce off by yourself on the other side. There's things like that guys are working on now with different ways you can come off of screens in a pick and roll game. All of that stuff is stuff that Wemby will be working on in the offseason to try and create moves in ways that he can score with and without the ball, and then defensively just not get pushed around as much as he got pushed around in a few games this season.
Yeah, it's just not fair. How really just how expansive this guy's skill set is.
Yeah.
I mean, usually you guys go in the box. There are certain things they can do that makes, that gives you at least a plan on how to defend him. There's no real plan on how to defend this guy when he starts adding a lot of the moves to his repertoire, because he has such a unique frame that we've never really seen in the history of sports. Not listen basketball, but in history of sports, combined with the skill set that he does. So here's the pull up and step back 3-pointer stat that I was looking for. I went and found it. So how about this? Of all the players who attempted at least 50 step back threes this year, Wemby ranked first in field goal percentage, 46%. His pull up 3-point percentage, pull up threes this year. Now, this one, I don't know how I'm saying it. This one isn't as current because this one is from, okay, here's a more current one this was from late March. So that's about that's current I can get. He was shooting 41.3% on pull-up threes. But at one point in February, he was shooting 45%.
Yeah,
on
it's
pull-up 3-pointers.
No, it's ridiculous.
I guess as the season went on, he's at 40%. So,
Well,
yeah,
and
come on,
that
man.
was another thing he did all season long and got better at. And one of the things he said he's worked on a lot is shot selection, and trying to be very aggressive, but not so aggressive that you're making mistakes. And so one of the pieces he talked about were shots that were not really high percentage, and you would think they were. So mid-range stuff, but mid-range stuff where you're moving, where they're contested mid-rangers. And so instead of getting all the way to the basket or shooting the three, you're taking a very contested shot where you're moving, you're off balance, you're going to a side and trying to make these little ones where really it's either you get to the bucket or you try and draw another defender out and pass the ball and get an easy layup that way. But you don't want to just take those kind of shots. He lowered those down, and it made it so when he was driving to the hoop and getting to the basket, you have to step a little bit further off of him, which makes those threes a little bit easier to make because you get a little bit more space. And for him, no one's blocking those because he's just going to shoot over the top of them.
He'd be relaxed
but it's those pieces. We saw that growth. We saw so much growth through the first part of the season. I think one of them said it in that interview. It's like, I don't know if I've ever seen a player improve as much in one season, where you can say from beginning to end, where he was good all season, but he just, by the end of the season, you were really seeing something of a generational talent, where at the beginning you saw flashes of it, but it wasn't there the whole time. And so when you say about the improvement throughout a season, getting used to playing NBA basketball, it was a lot of fun to watch. And you just watch those highlight reels.
Yeah,
that mixtape, his rookie of the year mixtape it's just different because there's so many clips and they're all crazy.
And they're even, like I said, the defensive ones are crazy. The offensive one, he's got these sequences where on both ends of the floor, he'd go do something freaky defensively and then do something freaky offensively in transition for a guy's size. And I left out one of the more eye-popping parts of the stat about him shooting 41% on pull-up threes this season. All of the 7-footers are shooting 23% on pull-up threes. Yeah, so 7-footers ain't supposed to even be nowhere near as efficient as this dude is on pull-up threes and step-back threes, but he is. Like I said, just imagine this guy adding different tools and weapons to his repertoire. It's a scary thought for the rest of the league. All right, we got Rod's rant. We're gonna push that to next segment. Let's push the next segment so we can talk some Cowboys coming up next segment. Oh. Also, I got to ask Patrick about this report. Actually, more of an insider opinion, more about that, about who the Spurs may be interested in terms of bringing in to pair up with Wemby. I'm going to see if he likes this name. He's probably heard it. And if he does, if he hasn't heard it, I want to get his thoughts about it. So we'll do that on the other side too. And we'll talk about when Cowboys fans should start freaking out about Dak Prescott. When are you going to start thinking doomsday Dak scenario here, where Dak will indeed play out the last year on his contract and will be a free agent? We got RJ Ochoa. He in an interview, he said, this is the drop dead date. If Dak doesn't sign by this time, and he lets you know when that is, he says he started freaking out that Dak is indeed going to play out the last year of his deal, and he's going to hit free agency, and he won't be a Cowboy, and he won't be extended by the Dallas Cowboys, I should say. So we'll come back. We'll play that interview, talk some Dallas Cowboys. We'll also ask my man Patrick about this potential trade piece to partner up with Wemby. All that and more when we come back. This is the Rodcast featuring Patrick Davis. I'm Lifetime Longhorn. Rod Davis coming back on the horn. Hey, what's up, folks? Lifetime Longhorn Rod Babers here. We all love the city of Austin. We love living in the city of Austin. And if you're a homeowner in Austin, well, you actually own some of the most valuable real estate in the country. The only downside of that is that the property taxes are also some of the highest in the state. And many of my fellow Austinites, like you, are overpaying on your property taxes. Don't worry, I was overpaying on my property taxes as well until I found OwnWell. OwnWell can help you protest unfair property taxes, and they can help you potentially save hundreds and potentially thousands on your property taxes. Onwell believes that when it comes to paying property tax, you should only pay what's fair. It'll only take you 3 minutes or less to sign up. There are no upfront fees or costs. Onwell will save you money, or it's free. That's a guarantee. If you don't save, you don't pay. But 86% of OwnWell's customers save on their property taxes. OwnWell handles everything from start to finish, and they deliver an average savings of over $1,100. OwnWell provides you with local tax experts backed by cutting-edge technology and the best in-class customer support available. Save money on your property taxes with OwnWell. Sign up in less than 3 minutes and start your protest today at ownwell.com. That's OWNWELL.com, ownwell.com. All right, welcome back to the Rodcast. Time to get into Rod's rant of the day. And I want to talk Dallas Cowboys here because there has been a lot of speculation about the contract negotiations or lack thereof between the Cowboys and Dak Prescott. The latest we heard from Dak Prescott was that there was an understanding between he and Jerry, and that they have not made much progress on the contract negotiations, but there is an understanding between the two. So we assume that their parties are still working on the contract, and hopefully they get something done. But the reports are that Jerry Jones is willing to let Dak Prescott play out his contract and play out the last year of that deal. And if that is the case, then he will indeed have the opportunity to explore free agency. And that is just very rare, especially for a quarterback coming off his best season for the Cowboys, and Dak Prescott, second in the MVP voting and second team All-Pro. RJ Ochoa, who is the editor-in-chief actually at Blogging the Boys, they do a great job of covering the Dallas Cowboys. He actually was on with Kay Adams. and Kay Adams asked him about Dak Prescott and the timeline and when, if something isn't done, if they don't have a contract extension done by this time, when will well, at least for him, when would that start to signal a point of concern, or when would he start stressing out about it as a Dallas Cowboys fan? Here's what RJ Ochoa had to say.
If it doesn't get done before the season with Dak, what happens?
I mean, Dak is in a very, very powerful position, right? I mean, we saw the money that Kirk Cousins obviously commanded on the open market and has commanded on the open market twice, even when he initially joined the Minnesota Vikings. And so, Dak has the potential to do that and to, do so in his early 30s and with all this attention, especially if he plays well again and all this kind of favor working behind him as wind in his sails. And so I would offer that if this doesn't get done, before the season, at that point, I'd start to kind of personally accept that he's probably moving on in 2025 because he'd be so close to it. I don't know how you could convince him to not, at the very least, entertain offers from anybody else, because we kind of haven't seen that in the NFL. A quarterback in the prime of their career reaching true free agency. Yes, Kirk Cousins. Yes, Peyton Manning even, but obviously he was coming off of the injury. Mm-hmm. I mean, he could, he's got a daughter now and, he's obviously an incredible businessman. He has the potential to do something historic and something that would be historic for the position and for players in general. And Dak has obviously always been about empowerment on a lot of levels. So if it doesn't happen, my own personal deadline that I put on it, the Cowboys return to Frisco for a portion of training camp. If they're back from California without it done, because they do tend to historically do big time extensions while in California, that's when I would kind of really reach DEFCON 1 and it would start to feel like this was going south.
Yeah, I can't believe we're actually at the point now where it is not only realistic, but some people think that it's actually something that almost may be inevitable at this point, that the Cowboys might let Dak hit free agency. That's crazy to me if you don't have a succession plan of some sort, but maybe they do. And that's what we don't know. We're not privy to that. They didn't draft a quarterback, but maybe Trey Lance, but they didn't pick up.
He did pick up his option. Which, I mean, you can't pick up his option.
Because you don't know what he's, that'd be irresponsible because you don't even know if he's good or not. So I don't know.
Yeah. And I mean, if you pick up his option, then we all say, well, okay, Dak's gone. You're playing Trey Lance next year.
That is also
because you're not paying Trey Lance even as a backup what that fifth year option would be, which is what
they
like
gave
20
him a roster
million?
bonus.
But it's like 18 to 20 million, something like that for the.
No, you're right. No, fifth year option. No, especially for him. You're right. That's a commitment.
Yes,
that would be there. That means they're all in on Trey Lance. My point is they don't have a plan. A plan in case Dak does indeed hit free agency. Or maybe they're just not letting us know what that plan is. So that is a scary scenario for the Dallas Cowboys, but we shall see. Everybody in the organization right now seems like they're on a contract year because CeeDee Lamb has not been signed yet. I don't know what the hell what's taking that so long. You better get that done before Justin Jefferson and Jamar Chase and that group ends up signing their deal. Micah Parsons, they did pick up his fifth year option, so they still got time with Micah. They got about 2 years left of him under team control. Mike McCarthy's on a contract year because he's a lame duck coach. Micah Zimmer signed a 1 year deal.
Yeah.
So God basically kind of makes him a lame duck coach. It's just very strange. We haven't seen an offseason like this for the Dallas Cowboys. Hope it works out for the Cowboys.
And look, I know that there's Cowboys fans that say now they are completely fine with, they would rather, if they can't get over the hump, tear it all down and we'll get better. Yeah. I get the concept and I love the enthusiasm, but it doesn't always work out that you ever get back. And sometimes you're just fighting to get back to the hump again.
Yeah, no, you're right. I think I said this is an organization that doesn't like to draft quarterbacks.
Yeah.
They draft the fewest in the NFL since 1999. So they don't draft a lot of quarterbacks. So they've actually had a lot of luck when it comes to the quarterbacks they do have. Remember, Dak Prescott was a third string quarterback who was behind Kelly Moore and then once behind Romo. And then, oh man, a happy accident. They found Dak Prescott. They wanted Connor Cook. They wanted Paxton Lynch. They wanted Johnny Manziel. Didn't work out for them. Cowboys aren't necessarily great. They're good when they decide to pick a quarterback, but they just don't draft quarterbacks a lot. And I wonder about them if they decide to move on from Dak, what the state, they're basically how their approach to the quarterback position to me. I do think that as an organization, it's a good organizational habit to draft quarterbacks once every other year or, draft them consistently. And the Cowboys do not do that. So I worry about them because the last two starting quarterbacks they've had, franchise quarterbacks, Romo and Dak Prescott, happy accidents for them both.
Yeah.
They're happy accidents.
Yeah.
You didn't go out of your way to choose those guys. They just kind of fell into your lap, and then they worked out for you. And hell, Tony Romo was an undrafted free agent, which never happens when that guy becomes a franchise QB. All right, let's talk about this. I want to present this scenario to you, Patrick. We were just talking about Wemby, and one of the, I think, really interesting future subplots in the NBA really is going to be how the Spurs build around Wemby. Like, what are they going to do?
Yeah.
In terms of him becoming this type of player, what types of players, what role players do you put around Wemby? So Rick Bucher of Fox Sports,
yeah,
he threw out the idea of creating a Devin Booker Victor Wembanyama tandem or pairing. He says that the San Antonio has the assets to get him. He says so does Oklahoma City, and it's really the only way Phoenix can change course is to trade Devin Booker. And he claims if they trade him, Spurs might be the spot. What are your thoughts about that scenario? Is that crazy?
It's not
something you would support.
So it's not crazy. The issue is what you have to give up to get Devin Booker is probably not the best way to try and build a franchise. And it's way more likely to put you in a scenario like the Mavs are in right now, which is leverage everything and hope this works. And if it doesn't, well, all your assets are gone. You're never getting a top pick. And you're just going to sit there and hope that maybe you hit on somebody. And, every other year you're going to be trading away future picks to try and get somebody else and, trade things up to see if you can find somebody and make a deal. And you're starting to take players you don't need. I'm not opposed to it. I'm a big fan of Devin Booker. It's just one of those pieces where you say, what player do you already have that you feel is a solid number 3 in a championship team with the Victor Wembanyama? Is Devin Vassell, who plays shooting guard, which is what Devin Booker would play for you.
Yeah.
So it doesn't necessarily fill the need. I think Devin Booker's a really great player, but I feel like Phoenix has no problem running it back for another year because for them, that's probably the best case scenario they have going. The only way they can really rebuild is trading away Durant and Booker. And the two teams that would be most likely to go after these guys that have a lot of draft picks are the Spurs and OKC. So it's an easy look. But I don't see the same way that OKC built this team up by not trading away everything and keeping themselves always in the game and drafting well and kind of putting pieces together. I think it'll be that Spurs will be a little bit closer to that. I think they will try and accelerate it a little bit. But I don't know if they're going to try and accelerate it so much as here's 4 first-round picks. Here's Devin Vassell and Sohan and Keldon. And here's all of our young talent and all our picks so we can get Devin Booker, and then we'll just try and do what Phoenix did and put a bunch of players around him, because that's what I think Phoenix wants. I think they would want at least 2 of those guys and at least 4 first.
Possible, yeah.
And so if you're saying that amount of stuff to get Devin Booker, I don't know if that's the way you build a championship team. I get people are going to be frustrated that, you're not trying to win a title with Wemby next season. If the Spurs don't go all 100% in and go and throw everything out, and if they have any first-round picks still available to trade, then the Spurs didn't do enough. I know that'll be the narrative. But when you look at OKC right now, it seems like that's not necessarily the worst idea to build up. I know for the media narrative, it sucks because it takes a while. And for Spurs fans, you want to push and you want to go. But I think the window is really you'd like to be a playoff team next year. And then 2 years from now, you'd like to start really trying to get in that conversation of can you be one of the top teams, which is not a long window. It's not it's not a long time to rebuild. Spurs fans seem to mean either you trade all of your picks away this offseason or you wait 10 more seasons and Victor's gone and everything's done. If you don't there's a middle ground in this. But I don't think they're necessarily going to go. I like Devin Booker a lot as a player, but I don't know if that's the guy that I would go to try and put together a big 2 and figure out the rest later. I think I would say, let's go try and get a couple other pieces that, see if we can find that other 2 and see if we can get one of these guys to become a good number 2 and not give up a lot of resources we already have.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. I think you're right about the cost of Devin Booker. I love me some Devin Booker too, but the cost, considering where you are in the development of Wemby,
Yeah.
I mean, do you even right now have the true vision of what you want to build around him? Do you have that, or do you need more sample size of him playing in the NBA? Do you need that? That's something they consider too. And do you want this thing to? Do you want the organization, at least your roster construction, to peak around when Wemby's peaking? Because that ain't going to be next year.
Yeah.
So I could see that being so. And if you're gonna make an investment like Devin Booker, you like to make it. You'd like to be sure of what you want to bring in with Wemby. Like, hey, we need these specific pieces. We need this guy to play this role with Wemby. And I'm not sure they know what that is yet. So I'm with you. I like here are the three teams he mentioned. He mentioned Spurs. He mentioned. Oh, that's scary. He mentioned the Spurs, the Knicks as another team too, and the Oklahoma City Thunder.
Yeah, the Thunder are going to be in every trade rumor because they have
So
a
many picks.
plethora of picks and so much young talent.
Yeah.
So the same way the Spurs do. They have a lot of young talent and they have a lot of picks. So everybody wants to go there. Like those are two that when you're working out a trade, you can always make the trade work. And the Knicks still have a good, decent amount of picks. They have some talent on that team. And the Knicks are a team that desperately wants another franchise player.
The star.
And
you're in New York. You gotta contend, baby. Yeah.
So that's I mean, as much as they love having the Villanova guys, it's hard to advertise Josh Hart and Dante DiVincenzo as, man, aren't our big three great? It's harder to market that. So that's a team that we're seeing with the success. Julius Randle is a piece they may try and move off of, who's out right now with injury. They may say, well, we can move him off in a trade and bring somebody else in, and that salary will match out a little bit better. But that's another piece you have to look at with what these guys are bringing in. Are the Spurs willing to bring in somebody who's going to be making 50+ million, is already on that contract? And you have to understand, well, then you're expecting to re-sign him. And when you expect to re-sign him, now you're pushing it up to, you're talking about pushing it up to, 70 million, 80 million when he's 32 years old in 4 or 5 years. And Victor Wembanyama is now still in his prime. And now you're trying to pay Devin Booker, a 32-year-old Devin Booker, 80 million. That's where those issues kind of fall out. I'm not opposed to it fully, but I think there's questions for it.
Yeah, no, that's good stuff there. And you're right. I guess when it comes to teams that are looking to make a trade, you would look at the Spurs and you're going to look at the Oklahoma City Thunder. I like what you said there, because Oklahoma City, I can't remember how many picks they have, but it's absurd how many picks they've stockpiled there with Oklahoma City. It is crazy. All right, we come back. We'll get into who said that. That's my man Patrick plays audio, and based on the audio that is played, context clues, maybe you can recall, and the voice is familiar to you. Based on whatever clues that you can gather, you're supposed to be able to identify who said that. We'll play that when we come back. This is the Rodcast featuring Patrick Davis. I'm lifetime Longhorn Rod Davis, coming back to wrap it up and put it in the oven. This is the Horn. Hey, what's up, folks? Lifetime Longhorn Rod Davis here. Austin is a great city, and one of the reasons people keep moving to Austin is because it is a great city, but it makes it one of the fastest growing cities in the country. And as our city continues to grow and thrive, well, so do our friends over at Ironworkers Local Union 482. Many of the iconic landmarks that you love in this city, you might be driving by them right now, or maybe you're parked in front of them in traffic right now, were actually built and constructed by the skilled craftsmanship of our friends over at Ironworkers Local Union 482, like the Pennybacker Bridge and DKR Stadium. And the folks over at Ironworkers Local 482 right now are hiring over 3,000 people for another big project, a huge project happening right here in Central Texas. They're offering competitive wages, competitive benefits, and a pension plan. They even offer training for unskilled labor through their apprenticeship program. So now is the best time for you if you're thinking about changing careers. Maybe you want an refreshing career change, or maybe you want an exciting employment opportunity, or maybe you want a new challenge, or you want to feel valued by your employer. You can become a valued member of this prestigious organization, Ironworkers Local 482, and take pride in the type of teamwork and craftsmanship that helps shape the future of our great city. So go online today and apply at ironworkers482.org. That's ironworkers482.org. All right, welcome back to the Rodcast. It is top of the charts Tuesday. That's when my co-host, Patrick Davis, the Idillionaire, he plays jams that reached the top of the Billboard charts on this day in history. And was this Wishing Well?
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Now, can you name either of the names of this artist? It's one artist, but he's changed his name.
Oh, Wishing Well. I cannot. Actually.
So his name now is Sananda Maitreya, is what he goes by now.
I wasn't even close then.
But what he went by back when this song was a hit was Terrence Trent D'Arby.
Terrence Trent, that name does sound familiar.
Okay,
so
yes, he did.
I don't know if I would have got it, but that name sounds familiar. Why did he change his name?
I believe it's religious. I believe it's a religious reason. Yeah.
Yeah, I do. Was he a one-hit wonder as Terrence Trent D'Arby?
No, because he had like a Dance Little Sister. He had a few other ones that were pretty good.
Yeah, the Wishing Well. What a strange song, but I do remember it being a big hit, though. Yeah, I think I remember the video for some reason. I think there was a video for this that was weird. Everything had videos back then. I want to talk about it. I remember. Of course, I remember the video. I saw all of it. There you go. So thanks to my man Patrick for Top of the Charts Tuesday. Now time for Who Said That? That's when Patrick plays a bit of audio, sometimes from the sports world, sometimes beyond the sports world. And based on the context clues and based on the familiarity, hopefully you can recall who it is and you can identify exactly who it is and who said that.
Do you think the kickoff rules will make you want to maybe kick return this year at all?
No. The fans. Nah.
They don't trust your kickoff return?
I guess not. No, we want to win. No, don't go back there. I mean, I would. I think it's pretty cool. As soon as you touch the ball, that's when everything, starts to happen. But our offense or our special teams coordinator was talking about Justin Fields being back there. We're like, hold on.
Whoa, you breaking news already?
We looked at him like, Justin Fields about to be that back there, and I don't know. I think it's cool.
All right. Who said that? That was Jalen Warren, the running back for the Pittsburgh Steelers, who was on the Cam Hayward Not Just Football podcast. And it was kind of breaking some stuff there, saying Justin Fields might be on their kickoff return. They're much safer now. Now you can put your big money athlete. Now, he's not a big money athlete anymore because they're paying pennies on a dollar for him, but you get my point. You can put some of your most valuable pieces back there now. I wouldn't put my quarterback back there.
I would not put my quarterback back there either.
Yes, I would put my quarterback there. So I'm not saying get that extreme, but I'm saying you can't put like your top wide receivers and running backs back there now because it's a whole lot safer than it used to be. It used to be the most dangerous play in football. That is no longer the case.
Yeah, but I'm still not putting Justin Fields back there.
I would not put Justin Fields back there. No way. Hell to the no. I would not do that. No, not smart. But
you want to do one more?
Yes, do one more. We got some time.
Let's do one more. Who said that?
Okay. What do you do outside of football?
Chill at the house, golf, bowl a little bit.
You golf?
I ain't no golf. I'm Tiger. Wish he could. I'm not Tiger Woods. I wish I could putt and do all that. Them boys out there shooting 5 under. I ain't doing all that. I'm like TV 5 to hit just to put it in. But I'm gonna go have fun. Like it's controlled chaos. You frustrated, but you can't get mad. Pull a muscle in your back trying to hit the ball. So it forces me to stay calm and just swing. Just have some fun.
That is Keon Coleman. This guy's already a star to me, man. He's already got a couple of viral clips. He ain't even.
And the best part is
yet.
All of this is straight faced. He just straight faced says the craziest
the
things.
Stuff he does. That's what makes me think this is how he is in real life. He's just kind of off the cuff, and his accent is perfect though for his random the random things he says. The accent fits it perfectly. He's from Louisiana, so
because he knows it's joking when he says I'm Tiger. Wish he could.
He does, but the accent makes it funnier for some reason. Because I guess somebody else said that it wouldn't be as funny. It's the accent that makes it funny. Ken Coleman is going to be a star. I don't even know if he's going to be a good player. I hope he's a good player, but he may be a star off the field.
I can see why people drafted him as high as they did.
Yeah, because you bring him in the room and you can tell that he's a guy that brings a certain lightheartedness to the room, to the situation.
Yes.
That's important, man, in a locker room. My man Patrick brings that to the show every day, so we appreciate him as always. And we appreciate you guys for listening. Remember, the revolution will not be televised. We're talking about it right here on the Rodcast. We love you guys. We mean that. Take care of yourselves, but more importantly, take care of each other. And until next time, that'll be tomorrow. Hook 'em and peace.